White. Wide open, Torrence! Oh, baby, touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me?
And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to week 3 of Bankroll Blitz. Alongside me, as always, is my co-host, Troy Torrence. It has been a rough start to the NFL season, and I'm itching to attack the board, but 32 bets for me over weeks 1 and 2 is a little higher than I would like. And I know you are a high-volume NFL gambler, and you bet more than 15 or 16 or 17 bets. But my mistake last week was I added 4 losers after our show, days after our show. I was in a perfect spot. Everything was going to be fine. I would come in here with a nice winning record, positive ROI, but I added 4 losers that's still eating at me. But I'm excited to be here with these great cappers in the chat alongside you, my friend. How are you doing?
I mean, I'm on the other side of that. I feel like the additions that I made after the show saved me because it was a rough week. But come on, man, this is what it's all about. Not just in sports betting, but in life. It's the decision you make when you get punched in the fucking mouth, when you're dealing with adversity, when shit's not easy, the doubt creeps in, you question yourself. For me, that's when the inner voice takes over, man. It always has. It's when I put my head down and I grind harder than I ever have. I just got ready for this entire slate to the best of my ability. You got to have passion, man. You got to love what you do. If you don't love it, go do something else. And that's why I love this community. That's why I love Pub Sports Radio. It's because I know everybody here fucking cares to a high degree. So I'm ready to get to it.
It's you just perfectly put. You absolutely nailed it. Yeah, you know, we know that the stakes are high, and it's easy when you're sitting and winning. What's difficult is when you have bumps along the road. How do you traverse them and keep firing? And that's what we're doing here, and that's what we will do here. We're going to review quickly what happened last week and then get right into attacking the board. Shout out to all the cappers rocking with us. We got the nuke worker,
Jesus,
TJ Parks. We got the truth teller, Ziggy Balls in the house. Great to see all of you guys. TJ Parks says he's on Seattle heavy. Ziggy Balls says NFL week 3, a lot of betting opportunists. We got Rants in the house. Dennis Garcia said, I think my favorite 3 words last week and this week will remain the same. Go, Pack, go. Ziggy Balls like in the Colts money line or spread. We have Gerald Jones with his action here. Buffalo, Jacksonville under. Let me go over these. Philly, New Orleans. Oh, I'm losing this here. Chargers, Steelers under 37. I know that's there. That is one good thing I did. Last week, I did move on 2 totals, and I destroyed the market moves. Because last week, you saw me upset that Dennis was getting a 40 when I was getting a 38. And so I made sure that wouldn't happen this week. I moved on 2 totals on the 12th.
Oh, I hope they're the same totals. I've been so busy getting ready, I haven't been able to check your action if you're posting it. I haven't posted any of mine yet.
I put this, so this was at 1:57 a.m. 1:57 a.m. Here, where is it here? I have it here. 12:57 a.m. on September 12th. I moved on New England, New York Jets under 39.5 and Chargers, Pittsburgh under 38.5. Both at Bet365 beat those market moves heavily. We'll see if that CLV will get us paid because it's been a rough run for me here last week. Rants in the house as Saints might be legit. There's Nate Dogg 420 off a spectacular week he had. Great job. Sammy Comer says Colts money line is his top play. We got T-Mac, Birdie more spectacular capping on NFL Pub. He gave out the Carolina Panthers to be the lowest scoring team of that day. Others had it of that week. He gave it at a plus 750 of that day. Others got it at plus 1,000. A whole bunch of our colleagues cashed off of our guy.
Birdie. Oh, when he came in the chat last night, I was talking about the Falcons on the money line and +6. And when he came in and was preaching the same thing, God, it gave me so much confidence.
It was nice. It was very, very nice. Dennis Garcia loving Colts -1 as well. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you for rolling with us. We have Mel 2 in the house. Mel 2 created another comment. Yes, we see your comments. It's great to have you rocking with us, Mel. I'm sorry that you had some issues with your account. Great to see Dan Kelly, Talk Sports with JT, Gordon Nkowski, the kid in the house. Great to see all of you guys. G. Martinez. It's time to get to work. Let's talk about last week. I wasn't good on this show, but I was 5-6 on my picks and my bets on the show, which I would have been okay with, still be 20-16 on the year, but I added losers. My first bets were the double up on Tampa Bay Detroit overs. They both lost badly, and the Colts -3 was horrible. But I got most of that back except for Vig on the under 41 in Indianapolis, Green Bay Packers. I cashed the San Francisco, Minnesota under 45.5. Some red zone issues with the Vikes that, turnovers that helped me out in that one. Buffalo, Miami over 48.5. I was really confident in. If Tua hadn't got hurt, I expect I would have cashed that comfortably. But that's just the way things roll. Cowboys -6 was horrific. Jets, Tennessee under 40.5. Lost that by a half point. Seattle, New England lost that under 38 badly, but I got it all back betting it live under 46.5, but that doesn't count for our record keeping here. Chargers, Carolina under 39, easy casher. Pittsburgh, Denver under 37, easy casher. My best play on the board, I give it to Kong's Clips for my best bet for my birthday. His birthday pick was Cincinnati, KC over 47, that cashed. And then the additions were horrific. Dolphins -2.5, Panthers +5, Lions -7.5, Cowboys double result, 4 losses. And then the Bears, I decided not to bother with Vig. Could have got the 6.5. At the time, it was -117. Instead, I got the +6 at -101. That went down that was 4 minutes before kickoff. If I'd have waited just 2 more minutes, I could have got the 6.5 at regular Vig. That was a push. 5-11 down 7.29 units. Cost me a lot of money. And I need to make it back here this week. Troy, talk to us about the week that was for you.
Yeah, we got to talk about that number 6. That number 6 in the NFL is the most important. People telling you about the 3 and the 7. I don't know, man. I completely disagree. I had a bad week too, Jim. I mean, if it wasn't for the additions that I added late because of line movement, I probably would have had a much worse week. Started off with the Dolphins. I doubled up on the Dolphins, money line -2. Took it right in the mouth on that play. I also disregarded the market and said, hey, give me the Colts. I live with complete regret on that one. I don't know what I'm thinking on that spot. That's probably my most disappointing spot on the card. Cowboys, I can live with this loss. I quadrupled up on the Cowboys. I was very heavy on the Cowboys. Who knew that the Saints were the best team in the NFL? I had the Pats and Seahawks under, and luckily I got all this back live, but I did lose 3 bets on the under in that game. I had doubled up on the under in the Panthers Chargers. That was they both hit. That was very easy. Panthers +6. Can't wait to talk about that spot today. Took a loss there. Bengals +6.5, +6. I had a little bit of money line in my own personal pocket because I was waiting for the 5.5 to show pregame, and it never showed, so I didn't release it. But I did lose with the money line as well. That was painful. Broncos Steelers under. Jimmy, we talked about home dogs, line moving towards the under. Broncos Steelers was one of those. Cashed it. All those cashed except for the Pats Seahawks.
Yeah, they all did.
Yeah, but Bears +6, Bears +6.5. I pushed. I won on the 6.5, and I lost on the money line. Same thing with the Falcons. Falcons +6, Falcons +5.5, Falcons money line. Cashed all of those. You call me lucky or whatnot. Maybe the money line's lucky, and that's why I play it multiple times, right? I don't want to break even if I'm betting a money line smaller than I am on the spread. Godare 4.5 receptions. I live with regret. Drake London over 60.5. I think he should have got there, and I am ready to talk this out. Overall, I'm down 14 units on the season. This is not anything, this is not untreaded territory. Like, we've been here before. Jimmy, let's go, man. I'm ready to turn up.
We watched what you did all of last season when you got up over 50 units. So 14 is nothing for you.
I was down 10 units after the 3rd week.
You were. For me, I'm 20-20, but with the VIG involved, I'm down 2.04 units. You'll see our records come up on game 1. Let's get after it.
Dennis, come on. Stop being so starky, man. What are you trying to say here? You knew that the Saints were the best team in the NFL? Is that what you're saying?
Let's go. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, our Thursday nighter. New England Patriots 1-1, 1-0 on the road at the New York Jets 1-1. The home opener at MetLife Stadium. 72 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. And this was one of the spots that I went ahead and bet on the early morning of September 12th. I got the under 39.5 at Bet365. I tweeted it out. Joe Yurkovich replied to that tweet. I got one reply, and he replied, "You're a smart man." And I thought, I was like, why have I not been doing this? Why am I so caught up in this week? If I know two teams are playing low-scoring football, I'm much more comfortable with the other one, the Chargers Pitt under 38.5. There are some injury issues that make me a little uncomfortable with this under 39.5. Let's talk about the line movement and the cash flow right now. The Patriots are plus 6.5 at minus 110. They opened up at plus 6.5, went to 6 for a bit. They're back at 6.5. Take a look at the total here on this one from a total perspective. We have a 38. This opened up at 39, dropped to 38. So, having a 39.5 isn't that bad. From a cash flow scenario, we have 60% of the tickets and 55% of the cash on the Jets. We have 24% of tickets and 54% of the cash on the under. Let's start with the Patriots. Week 1, 16-10 win at the Bengals. Week 2, 23-20 overtime loss at home versus the Seahawks. Brissett was 15 of 27 for 149 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Henry was their whole offense. Their whole passing offense. Let's make that clear, because Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson were monsters. But their whole passing offense went through Hunter Henry. He caught 8 passes for 109 yards. The rest of the team combined for 7 catches for 40 yards. So he was everything for Brissett. Safety blanket, and he just carried it. But the offense was carried by this two-headed monster running back. Antonio Gibson bounced back from a rough first game. He ran 11 times for 96 yards. Ramondre Stevenson is just a bull. 21 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. The running attack allowed them to again win the time of possession battle 35-42 to 29-41. The offense was 2 of 4 in the red zone. We know that they're going to have some red zone issues. You got to keep an eye out on Stevenson or Gibson. And then it's just Hunter Henry. The wide receivers aren't scaring anybody. Keon White has 4 sacks and 1 forced fumble through 2 games. Offense looks strong again this week. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. But their secondary couldn't contain DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba. They combined for 22 catches for 246 yards. That caught me by surprise. Obviously, I was on the under and I lost it. And I was a little concerned about that live under 46.5, honestly. Although the Patriots were hurt through the air, they held the Seahawks to just 46 yards over 19 carries. Seahawks converted 7 of 15 third downs against the Patriots, but were held to just 1 of 3 in the red zone. Now, Jawan Bentley, knocked out of the game with a shoulder injury. He's done for the rest of the season due to a torn pectoral. O'Shane Jimenez did not return after suffering a knee injury. He's listed as questionable right now. These are big blows to the linebacker group. Patriots now have 4 traditional linebackers left on their active roster. Jelani Tavai, Raekwon McMillan, Christian Ellis, and Curtis Jacobs. Now, Raekwon McMillan might be a beast. He's a hard hitter. We don't really know. He missed all of 2021. He missed all of 2023. We barely saw him in 2022. We know he's loved in the locker room. We know coaches love him. He's not Jawan Bentley, but now he's going to get a huge opportunity. And they're going to be okay when Sione Takataki comes back, when he returns from injury. He was signed by the Patriots in free agency. He had a minor knee procedure during the offseason, so he's on the PUP list. He's out until at least week 4, so that will help them. This isn't a whole season they're screwed situation, but Jawan Bentley losing him does make me nervous. And I think that if he didn't get hurt, we'd see this total at 37 now. Week 1, the Jets lost 32-19 in San Francisco. Week 2, defeated the Titans 24-17 in Nashville. Jets only put up 265 yards of offense in their victory. Aaron Rodgers does not look mobile. This offense does not look good. Rodgers finished 18 of 30 for 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. We know what Garrett Wilson is. We know what Breece Hall is. They're very, very talented. Garrett Wilson caught 4 for 57. Breece Hall ran 14 times for 62 yards, caught 7 for 52. But it's a pretty stagnant offense. Braylon Allen ran 7 times for 33 yards and a touchdown, caught 2 passes for 23 yards and a touchdown. 4th-round pick out of Wisconsin, youngest player in the league at just 20 years old. 239 days into his age 20 season, the youngest player to score a touchdown on offense in an NFL game since 1950. Brandon Echols had an interception, and Will McDonald had 3 sacks in the win. 2023 first-round pick out of Iowa State. With Hassan Reddick still unsigned, McDonald's importance has heightened tremendously. You have Jermaine Johnson suffering the torn Achilles, so he's out for the season. Linebacker C.J. Mosley hurt a toe in the opening seconds of the second quarter and didn't return. He hasn't practiced this week. I know we're only on Tuesday night. They placed linebacker Zaire Barnes on IR last week. So now the Patriots have the good fortune of playing another team whose linebacker core is decimated. And cornerback Michael Carter is dealing with an ankle injury. Saleh said it's going to limit him throughout the season, but they're not going to put him on IR at this point. The defense did hold the Titans to 1-4 in the red zone. If it weren't for these injuries, a linebacker, I'd be sitting here laughing. I would have a 39.5. This would be going down to 37. I'd be very confident. From a side perspective, I don't really want the Jets here. I'd be looking at Patriots or pass, but I don't know how interested I am in the Patriots team without Juwan Bentley, knowing how important their defense is to their success on the field. Take it away, Troy. Our Thursday nighter, Patriots-Jets.
Just hearing the breakdown, and you do a great job, Jim. The first thing that I start thinking about, I'm going to have to talk about this. It probably doesn't apply to this game as much, but play action. And I don't know what it's called, but there's another form of play action where there's no fake handoff, and it's the offensive line scheme. It's basically a pass blocking scheme where they pull a guard or a tackle. It's very interesting. You're seeing it in the NFL now. Past 2 seasons, definitely an increase year over year. I got to talk about that later on. But I feel like the Jets are lucky to escape with a win, let alone a cover. On paper, like you look at the game, they lost to the Titans. They got outgained by 45 yards, more yards per play, more yards per rush. They were break even on first down or on third downs. If it wasn't for the fumble on the second possession and the blocked punt, they probably do lose this game. And I don't want to make excuses for the Jets or for the for the Titans at the same time, but it's obvious that this defense is not what it used to be, especially with all the injuries. Rodgers did what he's supposed to do at this point in the season, especially early in the season, right? Protect the ball. No, he had 0 turnover-worthy plays. He's grading out as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think that what does that tell us when you got a team like this that is, they have a lot of weapons offensively. They have a good offensive line. There's something stagnant about the offense. Obviously, I'm very low on Saleh. I know he has, he's a defensive-minded head coach, but I know that these head coaches have input on the offense. And if you played, high-level football, you know that to be true. Some coaches more than others. But I know that Saleh, looking at Saleh and guys like Eberflus who are walking around on the sideline looking like nervous wrecks, protecting, having the play call sheet above their mouth, they're having input. They're having conversation when they're on offense. But this Jets defense is really the takeaway from this game, in my opinion, or, basically the past 2 games. I think some of these losses are a lot to overcome and to maintain that elite defensive status. The Patriots, on the other hand, this team has really impressed me. I've watched basically 2 full games of Patriot football. If they had any talent at wide receiver, I'd be so much more bullish on this team. But I'm extremely bullish on Brissett. This guy's a game manager. He'll keep you in football games, no turnovers. He can get first downs with his legs. Situational football. His IQ is top of the league, in my opinion. The defense, it has a lead upside, but, I was kind of a little bit let down in the first half. Now, they did turn it around. In the first half last week, the Seahawks marched up and down the field. Then the second half, 3 and out. They're top 10 in both pass rush, tackling. They're above average in coverage as well. Generally speaking, though, my stance is we want to, fade the Patriots against high-octane offenses. The Jets certainly aren't one of them, right? The Jets are a very slow offense, extremely slow offense. You got a big road dog in conference who's played great in New York over the past, historically. Look at the Bills. I made a case that the Bills were in Miami this is a comparable spot, right? Because the Bills dominate this team over and over. And guess what? They came out there and did it again. I tried to make a case that the team is completely different, new coaching, whatever. And guess what? The same result happened. And I think we have a massive coaching advantage as long as Saleh is on the field for the New York Jets. This guy just can't make adjustments. I talked about it against the 49ers. Absolutely no tempo or pace on the offensive end. Both teams are 1-1, but the Patriots' resume is way more impressive. And lastly, Brissett. I believe he's a starting NFL quarterback. High IQ, situational football. I'm on the Patriots plus 6.5. I see it heading towards the 6. Hopefully it dips towards the 5.5 so then I can get a little piece of that money line.
And again, if this moved to 5.5, you would then bet it at 5.5 and the money line.
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, you know what I have been doing at 5.5 when it does dip to 5.5, and I think I'm kind of changing the way I'm going about this because it's kind of changed the market since last year. You see a little bit of U-shaped movement, so I want to make sure it closes at 5.5. I'll buy at 5.5 though. I'm buying up to the back up to the 6 at -120. I did that in 2 spots. We'll talk about later.
I get it. I have interest. I'd like to keep things a little cleaner than I have the first couple of weeks. I think that if there's just so much excitement with NFL being back that I just want to hammer the board. Shout out to Fat Wally gifting a Pub Sports Radio membership. Thank you, Wally, my friend. We want Justice TV gaining that gift. Thank you, Wally.
Yeah, right. And Gerald Jones, I agree, man. Hackett is a weak offensive play caller, but guess what? He's a yes man for Aaron Rodgers. It's not a good balance. It's not what you want on the offensive side of the ball. You want guys that are going to be button heads and challenging each other, not a yes man. That's what Hackett is, man. That's why he's there.
That's why he was in. I like it. I'm on a total, Troy on a side, and we'll see how this line moves over the next 48 hours. Kickoff is exactly 48 hours from now. We move on to Sunday, September 22nd. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern with the New York Giants 0-2, 0-1 on the road at the Cleveland Browns, 1-1, 0-1 at home at Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, Ohio. 78 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Take a look at the line history here for this one. We have this total at 39. It's juiced to the under. You see 38.5 on the board. The interesting thing about all of this is that it went to 38. This was at 38 yesterday. It moved to 38 at 10 in the morning on Monday morning, and it stayed there for about 5 hours until it came back to 39. So this has moved up a half point, even though it is juiced to the under. We have a half-point move to the over in Giants Browns. Let's get into the point spread here for this one. This is a -6 for the Browns. They opened up at -7. So this is moving towards the New York Giants. We had the note from our guy Slatsy in the chat, and it was a wild one. Slatsy said, Giants become the only team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns, allow no touchdowns, and still lose the game. Pretty wild. Dennis Garcia says, I like the favorite here too, but Cleveland injuries make me nervy. Let's start with the Giants first, but let's also get into the cash flow for this one. From a cash flow perspective, we have let's go with the Giants. 65% of the tickets on the Giants and 70% of the cash. 65 and 70. On the total, 25% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the under. That's 65 and 71 on the under here. Let's go. Giants. Here, let me move this over here. Let me go back to the total again. Here. Yeah, 38, 39. Okay. Let's roll. Week 1, 28-6 loss at home to the Vikings. The Giants looked pitiful. Week 2, 21-18 loss at Washington, where if you were on the Giants, you were very angry. If you were on the over, you were very angry. If you didn't have action on the game, you were pointing and laughing at the Giants with the Graham Gano injury. Opening kickoff, he forced out, and it was a mess. Punter Jamie Gillen tried to kick an extra point. It missed. Gano is out now for a few weeks. It's a hamstring injury. He was on the injury report with a sore groin, but that wasn't it. So they were handcuffed and forced to go for touchdowns and forced to go for 2-point conversions. Daniel Jones finished 16-28 for 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran 5 times for 32 yards. Malik Neighbors looked like a monster. He caught 10 passes for 127 yards and a touchdown. The rest of the team combined for 6 catches for 51 yards. Malik Neighbors was targeted 18 times in that football game. Devin Singletary ran for 16 times for 95 yards and a touchdown, and he also lost a fumble. Looked very good. So Gano is going to be out for a few weeks. But other than that, that's the only injury that really affected the Giants here. They're a pretty healthy group. They finished 3 of 3 in the red zone to gain a little confidence offensively. The pass rush looked very strong 1 week after they no-showed at home versus the Vikings, finished with 5 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. The Commanders outgained them 425 to 304. So the Commanders held on to the ball for 37 minutes and 32 seconds of that game, 15 minutes and 4 seconds more than the Giants. But the red zone defense was excellent for the Giants, held the Commanders to no touchdowns and 6 red zone opportunities. Week 1, the Browns lost 33-19 at home to the Cowboys. Week 2, they win 18-13 at Jacksonville. It upset me not to be on the under. It's okay that the side, wasn't bet because I wanted to watch the Browns again, but that under was a gift. I know Dennis Garcia hammered it. Noli knows hammered it. The Browns come in off that impressive 18-13 victory at Jacksonville. Deshaun Watson, 22 of 34 for 186 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Ran 5 times for 20 yards and a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy caught 5 for 73. Elijah Moore caught 6 for 44. Amari Cooper had his second straight quiet game to start the season. I don't think there's much to put into that. So 2 catches for 16 yards in week 1, 3 catches for 11 yards in week 2. But he's been targeted 17 times over the 2 games. So I don't think he's angry about not getting the ball. I don't think there's any issue going on there. Jerome Ford ran 7 times for 62 yards, and Deonta Foreman ran 14 for 42. But the Browns continually had drives stall. They went 2 of 14 on third down. Lineman Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin were unavailable due to injuries. That made me very nervous to back them. Stefanski said that Conklin was close to playing last week. He tried to get on the field. So he's further ahead in his recovery than Wills. They're listed as questionable. They're both listed as questionable, but you can expect, if you are betting this game, I think you can expect Conklin to be on the field. Pass rush had 4 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. The defense looked much stronger a week after getting torched for 33 points. Secondary held Lawrence to 14 of 30 for 220 yards and no touchdowns. Held the Jags to 3 of 9 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. This is the Browns defense that we had been expecting in week 1. Wide receiver David Bell done for the season with a hip injury. He got hurt. Running back Pierre Strong left with a hamstring injury. He's week to week. And Njoku missed the game with a high ankle sprain. He actually was trying to play. He's a gamer. He plays through injuries. He hasn't been ruled out for this week, and he's going to try to be on the field. Take it away for us here, Troy. Our first game on Sunday, Giants Browns.
God, I love the Browns. I didn't back them this past week. It's frustrating that I wasn't on them, but just hearing you talk about it makes my mind just spin, and just the first thing I start thinking about is the Browns defense. And, you said that this is the defense we should have seen in week 1. But we see the tailspin. Like when they get into a trailing game script, they fall behind. It's like the defense completely changes. They start taking way more risks. They can't stop the run because the ends rush up the pass. They get too deep in the backfield that there's just so many lanes to be had. Obviously, that wasn't the case because they came out and scored on their very first possession. Then they followed that up with 2 field goals. Very impressive first half. Then what happened in the second half? 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I think they had 1 drive that had 5 plays for 9 yards. Maybe a penalty for a first down. Terrible on third down. The offensive line grades out as 27th in pass block. Now, I believe we're getting Conklin and Wills back at tackles. We'll see how that shapes. I think they'll be back. But defensively, this Browns unit, they're going to be solid. There's still a lot to learn about the players, that are coming back off IR, especially with the tackles. If you look, this is the team with the lowest pre-snap motion in all of the NFL. Like, how can you not watch film, copy and paste what you're seeing that's being so successful around the league? And it's just crazy to me that they just continue down this rabbit hole of, I don't know, I guess he's just sticking to his guns. He's just stubborn. So really hard to get behind the offense still. No, Deshaun did look much better. And guess what? My boy called it out in the chat. Our guy, Amari Cooper, dropped 3 passes. Like, what the hell's wrong with him? He's not separating. My boy Faber, who's a dog, an absolute dog in fantasy, is telling me that, he's not getting the separation. He's dropping passes. He's a sell. He's a sell in fantasy. The Giants, they showed some life offensively against the worst defense in the NFL, so take it for what it is. Malik Neighbors getting 18 targets is absolutely ridiculous. It probably will never happen again, especially versus any type of good secondary like they're going to see this week. And despite the life that New York showed on offense, I think they looked bad on defense, especially for what I expected. Jaden went 23 for 29, allowed 6 points. This defense allowed 6.5 yards per carry. If it wasn't for a rookie quarterback on the other side, they wouldn't have gone 0 for 6 in the red zone, and they would have lost that game by more. So I know you could argue it both ways that, either side got unfortunate in this case, but I think it was more of the latter. I think the Washington Commanders got more unlucky. It should have been a wider margin. And, I think the Giants' defensive performance through two weeks has been awful. And this is 0-2 now versus two bad teams, or two teams that are perceived to be extremely bad. Yeah, how's Jones going to look versus Browns defense? I don't think it could look very good. I was thinking about Browns on a teaser, but you're much more successful betting underdogs up instead of favorites down as it relates to teasers, at least over the past 2 years. So I have no action on this game.
Yeah, I want to see the Cleveland Browns win by margin. And at this point, their offense hasn't proven they can do that.
They can't sustain drives. Like, they just can't do it. So
Two
until
of
we
four-
see that, bro.
2 of 14 on third down.
Yeah.
Against the Jaguars defense. What are you grading out this Jaguars defense?
Great. I would actually say they're one of the better teams in the box. Linebackers, defensive line. As soon as you get into that secondary, especially with our old boy out of the lineup, they're soft. They're cupcake. So it's like the Browns certainly aren't equipped to take advantage of it, especially without their 2 tackles. But they got by last year. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough spot. We got to learn more.
And I don't have interest in the under here. I feel like the Browns could beat up the Giants.
I just plugged this in because we got sharp action on the under. The line's moving to the over. The problem is it's about a 50-50 on the over-under. And that's even impressive in itself because the unders have hit at like 55% over the past 2 seasons. Just betting any under, you're profitable. To see an over that's 50-50, and now if you took this up, because Jimmy, this is the spot last year, Seahawks, Cowboys, we bet an over, but the total was 47-48. And so this doesn't apply here. I definitely would not be on the under in this case. But I will say this, sharp action on the under, market moving towards the over. Surprisingly, home teams have fucking slaughtered teams in this market. So we'll see how that shapes up.
That wouldn't surprise me here. I'm not looking at Giants dog or no bet like I was on the Thursday nighter. Here, I only want the Browns. I don't want anything to do with the Giants. I don't want to do anything. Also, the Browns no showing in their home opener. I mean, they want to redeem themselves in front of their fans here.
That's a really good angle that I didn't consider. This might, the Browns might make my card. Obviously, I want to make sure we don't tick down into 5.5. The Browns might make my card. I need some favorites in my action. After
all the dogs cashing last week, I can understand.
The on-off week, right? The favorites in week 1, the dogs in week 2. Here we are in week 3. What are we going to get? I've been flip-flopping the wrong way. I've had it all wrong. I've had it ass backwards. Here I am with all dogs again. Maybe I'm an ass clown.
Well, then things will work themselves out if we put in the work, which we've done. No action for us at Giants Browns at this point. Let's roll on to 1 p.m. Eastern. The Green Bay Packers, 1-1, 0-1 on the road. At Tennessee Titans, 0-2, 0-1 at home. We're at Nissan Stadium, Nashville, Tennessee. Beautiful weather this weekend. No weather issues. 88 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's go into the line history here for this one. Let's talk about the line history in Packers, Titans, and the cash flow, and then get into the X's and O's. Let's get this one up. Sorry. Here we go.
It doesn't survive more than 1 minute at 1.5.
The total is at 36.5. Opened up at 37.5. We've dropped a point down to 36.5. On the spread, we have a -2.5. Now, I had the opportunity to get in at a high number here on the same night on the 12th that morning. But with all the Jordan Love talk, it sounds like I think after the Packers saw Malik Willis do a really nice job with the offense, there's not going to be the rush to bring Jordan Love back. But
yeah, especially because they got the win. Even if you look good and they lost, they're not going to be rushed. They got the win. They got another game of cushion.
I agree with that. But there has been a 1-point move towards the Titans, and it was bigger than that. They opened up at -1.5 on Sunday night, 8:14 p.m. Within a minute, it was a -2, and it was juiced to them. So, it was getting bet quick. Then this got up to -3. That was the high water mark at this point. It's come back to 2.5. Now you'll still see 3s on the board, but this is a 2.5 right now, minus 119. So there's been a 1-point move towards the Tennessee Titans. We've talked about the total, so let's get into the cash flow here for this one. Get it up here. Sorry about that. I should have had this set up. For this one, we have 77% of the tickets and 79% of the cash on the Packers. And this is, again, making the Titans more appealing, obviously, seeing the public backing the Packers. Again, wanting to, stop trust or have any faith in Levis whatsoever, and I can understand why that is. On the total, 20% of the tickets and 63% of cash on the under. Then you have 61% of tickets and 91% of cash on the money line on the Packers. So there's a lot on the Packers here without the market moving towards them. Let's start with the Packers. Dennis Garcia says, yeah, I bet Green Bay at +3 at minus 115. Why the heck is Levis a 3-point favorite? And Preston Ekdahl says, I bet it at minus 2.5. Biggest bet I've made all year. So two very sharp cappers on either side. Dennis Garcia says Tennessee could be 2-0. I bet Tennessee both weeks. It's been gross. No, and Troy, he's not going back to the well. He is on the Packers +3. So let's rock. Week 1, Packers lost 34-29 to the Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Week 2, defeated the Colts 16-10 at home. Very different games. Jordan Love out with a sprained MCL. Malik Willis made the start for the Packers. He had only been signed 20 days before the start, and he did a great job. But it was the game plan. LaFleur's game plan was a thing of beauty. They ran the ball 53 times. That's the most the Packers have run the ball since 1978. Willis finished 12 of 14 for 122 yards and a touchdown. He ran 6 times for 41 yards, and he wasn't sacked. That was the big thing. He was not sacked. We've been dealing with all these games, watching him get sacked nonstop, and that obviously was in my head. So Josh Jacobs ran 32 times for 151 yards. He did lose a fumble, but he was very good. The Packers gained 164 yards rushing in the first quarter alone. That's the highest first quarter total for any team since the Broncos in 2011. Dubs led receivers with 3 catches for 62 yards. Dontavian Wicks got 3 for 26. The Packers offense wore down the Colts. The pass rush didn't get a lot of pressure. The Packers offense was they wore them down. The Packers went 10 of 17 on third down, held on to the ball for 40 minutes and 11 seconds. Pass rush didn't get a lot of pressure, finished 1 sack, 3 quarterback hits. The secondary was excellent. Another spectacular game by Xavier McKinney. I mean, just a great start to the season for him. Another interception for him. Evan Williams had an interception. Eric Wilson did too. They held the Colts to 2 of 9 on third down. Now, injuries. Jordan Morgan didn't play in the second half due to a shoulder injury. So it's been a problem for him. So he's been rotating in and out at right guard with Sean Ryan. The shoulder injury bothered him all preseason. Then you have running back Marshawn Lloyd. He hurt his ankle. So he is, not expected. Well, wait. He missed week 1 with a hamstring injury. Now he's got the ankle injury. So that's the injury situation for the Packers. Let's talk about these Titans. Week 1, 24-17 loss to the Bears. Week 2, 24-17 loss at home to the Jets. Second straight week, Will Levis made mistakes that cost the Titans a victory. Now he has 5 turnovers in 2 games. In this one, he finished 19 of 28 for 192 yards, a touchdown, interception, and also had a very costly fumble. It didn't make any sense. Up 7-0 in the second quarter on the Jets' 6-yard line. Tried to shovel a backwards pass to Tyjae Spears, and Quinnen Williams recovered, and that was the turning point in the football game. And then he threw a pick on the next possession. He's clearly in his head. Calvin Ridley caught 4 passes for 77 yards and a touchdown, ran for a 10-yard touchdown, first rushing touchdown of his career. Tony Pollard ran 17 times for 62 yards, caught 5 passes for 40 yards. I love the playmakers on this football team. Will Levis is a problem. Harold Landry had the 2 lone sacks for the Titans. Cornerback Roger McCreary hurt his shoulder, and he did come back, but he's listed as questionable. And Spears rushed 6 times for 20 yards, caught 2 of his 3 targets for 11 yards, and he has an ankle injury. So he's day-to-day. He hopes to practice later this week. So he's not going to practice. He didn't practice today. He's not going to practice tomorrow. He's hoping to practice Thursday or Friday, so keep an eye out on Spears. Take it away for us here, Troy. Packers, Titans.
Yeah, obviously I was on the Colts heavy. So you could go ahead and flag me as biased in this cap if you want, if that makes you feel good. But I'm going to add this completely unbiased. What the Packers did against the Colts was completely impressive. I mean, they absolutely dominated the line of scrimmage versus a Colts front that's pretty terrible, and it's proven to be terrible 2 weeks in a row now. The Colts knew it was coming. They still couldn't stop it. And I think that, some of the cappers in the chat were talking about it. they're going to know what's coming. They have a whole week of film that I think is going to pay its dividends out. There's not many options. There's not many ways to go with a quarterback that can't drive the ball downfield. There's just not much you could do. And I think what we learned is more about the Colts than what we learned about the Packers. Colts ran the ball 5 times. I just can't believe it. I could talk about these Colts. I don't want to talk about the Colts in this cap. But I know that the Colts did not execute their game plan, or their game plan was completely flawed, because they should have been running the football. And if you look at the ratio between pass and run, it was completely unbalanced and skewed towards the pass. You can't drop Anthony Richardson back 35 times and expect to have success. Despite the success, the Packers defense hasn't graded out well. Like, they just dominated against the Colts, right? 27th in both run defense and pass rush, 18th in coverage. And that's supposed to be their strong suit, right? They have great corners, and they benefited too from some drop passes. And that's probably what's playing into the coverage numbers. I'm cutting Levis some slack at this point. He did go against New York Jets defense, which is not what it used to be, but still above average. And the Chicago Bears defense, which I talked about till I was blue in the face on Sunday night about being undervalued. These are two of the better defenses in the NFL. I think the Bears defense is one of the top 10 defense in the NFL. I don't want to get too bullish on them. The offense has progressively looked better for this Titans team after week 1. They outgained the New York Jets, talked about this, by 35 yards. If not for that fumble and that block punt, Tennessee wins the game. And defensively, this is where I'm impressed with the Titans team. They're number 1 in yards allowed per play, top 10 in yards allowed per rush. Very strong on the interior line. They have a lot of talent there, completely opposite of what the Colts have. They have L'Jarius Sneed and Ernest Jones. I think it's going to be an absolute problem, even in coverage. Ernest Jones is a beast. And I'm not buying this Malik Willis Rebenga, as saturated we'll call it. He's going up against a much better defense than he faced. This Pack team, they played 2 of the worst defenses in the league in the first 2 weeks. I think the Titans offense is coming around. The market is even extremely bullish. This is a spot that I like to attack. A 2 going up to 3, and that's what I like. I'm on the Titans minus 2.5, and I'm pretty confident in it.
What was the juice that you got on the 2.5?
The juice, I got minus 118.
Minus 118. I'm very interested in joining you. Truth Teller says, can you trust this Titans defense to stop the Packers run game? Can you do that?
I feel very confident in that, especially looking at the talent, what they've done so far. I mean, this is a one-trick pony with Malik Willis at quarterback. I guess you could pull a rabbit out of a hat or expect Will Levis to just fumble the ball or throw it away, whatever. You can count on that. I'm not going to bet on that. I'm not going to bet on these ridiculous turnovers to continue. Maybe they do. But if they don't, Titans win in this game.
Nike B Plus says, good luck. Willis 0-9 on the road, and he's a rookie. To Dennis Garcia, the cruelness of handicapping is, being on one side like Dennis was on the Titans, which felt like the right spot until Will Levis ruined everything. And I'm sure Dennis watched in horror, watching Will Levis make certain decisions, and then fading him here. It's tricky. I really, I wanted to take the Titans over 7.5 wins. It was 6.5. 7.5 was plus money. I was going to take the 6.5 juice. And then it went to 5.5 last week, and I almost took that, and I've still stayed off. I would like to join you on the Titans minus 2.5. I just can't. I mean, how could you surprise us here with play action? Like, how could you surprise with Malik Willis on the road? I find it very difficult.
You can't, man. You leave Sneed. You leave some of these solid defensive backs in man-to-man single coverage. Let them throw it downfield. Let them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very interested in joining you.
This is Mark Sanchez. If I see a goddamn butt fumble now, Dennis Garcia, I swear.
Titans minus 2.5 and minus 118 for Troy, and I would like to join you on this one. Let's roll on.
Campers are talking about the 2.5, and I do agree to some extent. Like, I do agree that the Titans, I feel like that we should definitely be seeing them as a favorite, but now we're going to see 3s. That's the books telling you. They're concerned.
And the kid says, if Malik Willis beats me 2 weeks in a row, I'll tip my cap, get my lip back on.
Exactly.
We roll on 1 p.m. Eastern with the Chicago Bears, 1-1, 0-1 on the road at the Indianapolis Colts, 0-2, 0-1 at home. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Let's get into the line of history here for this one and the cash flow. Set up some X's and O's and hand it over to Troy. This total is at 43.5. 43.5 juice to the under. It's gone up from 42.5 to 43.5. We have a 1-point move towards the over. On the point spread, we have the Colts minus 1.5. Minus 1.5 at even money or plus 101. They opened up minus 1.5, minus 102. So it's probably better for us to take a look at the money line and see what's happened there. Let's move over to the money line. On the money line, we have, and of course, these are pinnacle line moves. We have the Colts opening up at minus 117. And then last night, they got up to minus 133. Just a huge move, well, a legit move towards the Colts. And it's come all the way back, minus 116. So at this point, we've had a 1 cent move to the Bears. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. I can't wait to see what's happened here. I've been watching it, but I haven't looked at it in about 8 hours. Now we have on the spread, 57% of the tickets, 64% of cash on the Bears. On the money line, 51% of the tickets and 76% of cash on the Bears. And on the total, 41% of tickets and 60% of cash on the under. In week 1, the Bears won 24-17 at home over the Titans, game that Caleb Williams threw for 93 yards and the defense took over and won the game. Week 2, the Bears lost 19-13 at Houston. Bears coming off that loss at the Texans. Caleb Williams finished 23 of 37 for 174 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And I kind of liked the way he looked getting out of the pocket. He was swarmed all game long. The offensive line couldn't protect him. He was sacked 7 times. He also got nothing from their running game. He ran 5 times for 44 yards. He was their leading rusher. DeAndre Swift, Travis Homer, and Khalil Herbert couldn't get anything going on the ground. They combined for the 3 combined to rush for 17 times for 27 yards. DJ Moore caught 6 for 53 to lead receivers, and Keenan Allen was inactive with a heel injury. He's listed as questionable with that heel injury. The defense was strong yet again. They held a very dangerous Texan offense at home to just 235 total yards. They held the Texans to 414 on 3rd down. Pass rush finished with 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. They were very good. They are very good. Talk about the Colts losing 29-27 at home to the Texans. Now, I thought, wow, this team only had the ball for 20 minutes and covered. Well, they just did it again in a 16-10 loss at the Packers. They had the ball for even less, 19 minutes. I believe it's 1941. I have it here. It's written somewhere. Unbelievable. Absolutely ridiculous. 1941. Second week in a row, the Colts had the ball run down their throats. In week 1, the Colts allowed 213 yards rushing to the Texans. That was the most by any team in the opening week. Then in week 2, the Packers run the ball 53 67 snaps for 261 yards. The Colts, I don't know how you can trust this football team. And maybe you could say the Bears running game is pretty weak right now. And that would be fair. Steichen said he can't stop thinking about it. He knows there's a huge glaring problem here. So the Packers gained 164 yards rushing in the first quarter alone. It was a horror show. It was horrible to watch. Anthony Richardson did not look good. 17 of 34 for 204 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Also ran 4 times for 37 yards. He fumbled twice, too, but he was lucky enough not to lose him. Alec Pierce led receivers with 5 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor ran 12 times for 103 yards. The pass rush was nowhere to be found. Now, in fairness, the Packers only threw the ball 14 times, but 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits. The defense allowed the Packers to go 10 of 17 on 3rd down. So now DeForest Buckner on IR. He's only missed 1 game in his entire career. So now you take the best defensive player off of a rush defense that's been historically bad through 2 games. Latu left with a hip injury in the second half. Starting safety Juju Brents is already on IR. They were playing without safety Julian Blackmon, who's got a shoulder injury, and Josh Downs. With DeForest Buckner, can you still back the Colts? Take it away, Troy. The floor is yours. Bears, Colts.
I mean, off the rip, my first note on this game is this is not a game I'm particularly interested in betting. Because who are the Colts? They got dominated on the ground in weeks 1 and 2. And I gave them a break versus the Texans because they had all these all these options at receiver, a great quarterback. And then the Willis-led Green Bay Packers absolutely slaughtered them. Like, this defense is not to be trusted at all. At all. Like, yeah, Steichen, it's a guy that I trust to be able to turn things around. But then you look at what he's doing on offense. Like, I talked highly of Steichen. So it's painful to see what's happening. But I don't think he's using his offense very wisely with how dominant his offensive line should be. his running back and quarterback and the running game should be. You can't drop Anthony Richardson back 30-plus times a game. He had 5 turnover-worthy plays this past week. There's 2 weeks in a row he had a 50% or worse completion percentage. The only thing is for this Colts that's keeping me off is that they're 0-2 at home right now versus a Bears team that is still largely unproven. I got a good read on this Bears team. I feel like I know, basically I feel like I have a good read on this Bears team. Very efficient on defense, an elite secondary, a depth at the defensive line, an underrated offensive line. People don't agree with this. I think their offensive line is now starting to tilt on the side of underrated. The scheme, I talk about Eberflus. I know he's a defensive-minded head coach, but him and Saleh alike have the play call sheets. They're looking like nervous wrecks. They're giving their input on the offense 100%, and it's very inefficient. There's no sequencing on their offensive plays, their offensive play calling and the formations. Swift, Swift looks good from a prop standpoint, but he can't generate broken tackles. He cannot generate any yards after contact. He's bottom 3 in yards after contact, right behind Rashad White and Ty Chandler. And if you watch film on him, not only is he not able to break tackles, use his agility, he can catch passes, but he can't run the football. And when you watch film on him, you can see he's making business decisions out there. He don't want the smoke. He don't want to put his head down and grind out a few extra yards. He wants to run lateral. He wants to run sideline to sideline. One of the worst signs of the offseason. And I'm going to let this market develop because, it is in that range, right? It's very important to see where this market does move. I'm right now considering a teaser on the Chicago Bears, but I might not be betting this game, man. I can't trust either offense. I guess the only unit I can't trust is the Bears defense. So this makes this at a pick 'em a Bears or pass.
I can't trust the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So I don't like having money on their quarterback. I don't like seeing a 75-year-old bomb off the back foot, a perfect pass, but he can't throw, a 6-yard outlet pass to a running back. He's got no touch. When we watched the Texans play, you saw some of CJ Stroud's touch, and it was just it's really special. I don't. I think that the Colts are going to be a sharp side here. I think we've heard that from the chat already, but I need to watch them again. I've already fallen. I had high hopes for them. I have them to make the playoffs at plus 140.
Me too.
That ticket is a mess right now
because the defense is just beat up. They're injured, and they're definitely not just fractured from an injury standpoint, but something's just broken with that defense.
One question, you were talking about the Bears' offensive line. 7 sacks. Caleb was running for his life. You think that was an outlier performance?
No, I think that they fell behind. If you look at the average down and distance for second, third down, it's the bottom of the league. They're setting themselves back with holding, with more so offsides, illegal formations, false starts. It's just never ending with this Bears team. Puts them behind the markers. And then, they just unleashed a blitz, and we did nothing. There's so many ways that you could counter a blitz. We did nothing to clean that up. And I watched a little bit of film on this game. I kept going back and talking about it. This game really set me off with the Bears offense because it made me realize that my read on Eberflus, I don't know if he's got his magic wand over the quarterback and the offensive coordinator. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's got to be Eberflus because you bring in a new offensive coordinator and you see the same old shit.
I don't want to sell Caleb Williams too short, but these two quarterbacks are immensely gifted athletes. And I don't see that touch right now from either of them. Dennis talking about Caleb's accuracy. I don't want to put Caleb in the same group right now as from what I see from Richardson, but they are not.
Caleb missed some huge throws, one-on-one coverage, back shoulder. These for professional athletes should be all day type of throws. You got to give your receiver a chance to make the catch. He's not doing it, man.
Birdie says this is a dream matchup for Williams in game 3, and he's probably right. And the Colts are probably going to start selling out to stop the run.
But I can't trust Swift to get any yards. He is the worst running back in the NFL. I haven't seen one worse.
And Luke,
I haven't watched Ty Chandler run the ball, so maybe he's the one.
Lucas Oil is a tough place to play. Gets loud in there. All right, no action for us here at this point in the week on Tuesday in Bears Colts. Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern with the Houston Texans 2-0, 1-0 on the road. The Minnesota Vikings 2-0, 1-0 at home at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is going to be a really, really fun cap. Let's start with the side here. Sorry, I got the money line up, so let me move over to the spread. Let's start with the spread. We have the Vikings plus 2.5 at minus 105. They opened up plus 1.5 minus 106. So we've had a 1 point move towards the Texans. Let's get to the total in this one. From a total side of things, we have a 46 and minus 111 to the under. This opened up at 45. We've gone 1 point up to 46. Let's get to the cash flow then and see what we are dealing with. Okay, sorry, those are the 4 o'clock games. My bad. Here we have it. 34% of the tickets and 75% of the cash on the Vikings. Oh, let me go back to that. Did I have this? Yes, I had that right. So we have 34% of the tickets, 75% of the cash on the Vikings. You have 64% of the tickets and 76% of cash on the over, and it's gone up a point. Coin saying cluster injuries for Minnesota wide receiver. Let's go over all of that. Let's start with the Texans. So week 1, they win 29-27 at Indianapolis. Week 2, they win 19-13 at home over the Bears. Both were underwhelming victories. You know who else had underwhelming victories? The Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, the Texans are just showing us that they're going to win football games, and they might not look that good doing it. And that's what the best football teams do. And maybe it's time we include the Texans in that group. It was the defense that led the way in that victory over the Bears. Stroud was 23 of 36 for 260 yards, touchdown, no picks. Nico Collins, again, just rolling. 8 catches for 135 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs was next, 4 catches for 37 yards. So here, Nico Collins had 98 yards more than the next receiver. Joe Mixon came back to earth. That first week's performance made no sense to me. Then he runs 9 times for 25 yards, catches 3 passes for 25 yards. That's the Joe Mixon I know. Texans were just 4-14 on third down. The pass rush was excellent. Texans finished with 7 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. They got interceptions from Lassiter and Derek Stingley Jr. And Fairbairn is a monster. Those field goals, 56, 47, 59, and 53. He had 3 field goals 50 or longer last week. So he's the first player in NFL history with 5 or more field goals of at least 50 yards in a 2-game span. I was surprised when I read that stat. Some of these kickers look very good to start the season, and I imagine that will be at least matched at some point this year. Let's talk about the Vikings. They win week 1, 28-6 of the Giants. They win week 2, 23-17 at home over the 49ers. Vikings coming off of that very impressive win. Sam Darnold was the 49ers backup last year, and he looked very good against his former team. 17-26, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran 5 times for 32 yards. He did fumble twice and was lucky not to lose either of them. Justin Jefferson caught 4 passes for 133 yards and a touchdown, but he left the game with a quad injury. Now, he said he's feeling pretty good. He always says that when he gets hurt. Came into the facility, says, I'm feeling pretty good. He's listed as day-to-day. Jalen Naylor caught 3 for 54. Ty Chandler caught 10 for 82. They got 6.1 yards per attempt on the ground. And Chandler led the way there. That was their most productive ground game in almost 3 seasons for yards per attempt. The Vikings were 7-12 on third down, and the pass rush was dynamic. And that's against a really tough 49er offensive line. 6 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Blake Cashman was all over the field, 13 tackles, 3 passes.
He's awesome.
He had a sack. He looked elite. Patrick Jones had 2 of the 6 sacks on Purdy. Then another interesting thing here is they allowed the Niners to put up 399 yards. So they had this bend but don't break defense, held the Niners to 2 of 10 on third down. So we need to know, if you want the Vikings, you need to know what's up with Justin Jefferson. You need to watch that very closely. Jordan Addison inactive after getting the ankle injury. And then Dallas Turner left with a knee injury. O'Connell said it's not serious, but strong rookie outside linebacker Dallas Turner, I don't know if you want to risk that. So those are question marks that need to be answered for the Vikings throughout the week. Take it away for us here, Troy. Texans, Vikings.
Yeah, this whole game, I'm like, oh, come on, please tell me it's time to fade the Vikings. Is this team really legit? I need to go back and watch some more film on that game. God, just love what the San Francisco 49ers. I love what Shanahan does with his inverted splits on the offensive line. Just brilliant. We talked about that last week, where his tackles, his guards are on the back half, on the shoulder, basically where the tackles are supposed to be, but there's no rule against it yet. It's brilliant. And the way he's pass blocking, right? He's pulling guards. He's giving a play action look without actually faking a handoff. I think it's pretty impressive what he's doing. I really want to fade this Vikings team. God, I want to fade this Vikings team. And let's be honest, the hard part about fading the Vikings when I get into it is that Darnold's, people are so low on Darnold, they're trashing Sam Darnold. And I was one of those guys, a skeptic about this guy. But what has he had in the NFL? He had 3 years with the Jets when they were absolutely terrible, 2 years with the Panthers when they were just as bad. We've never seen him in a favorable situation with talent around him and good coaching. We've never seen it. Well, now we're seeing what could be with O'Connell, Flores. They changed it real quick, man. I love the coaching staff over here in Minnesota. And so I was bouncing back and forth in this game. And for the Texans, elite upside, but they still got some major issues. Stroud, absolutely, he struggled versus man-to-man against Chicago. Now, I doubt we'll see that type of elite coverage here against Minnesota. The O-line is grading out in the bottom half of the league. Again, top 5 in pressure rate allowed. And, but here's the thing about Stroud. He's a great quarterback. He knew last year he had a leak. He was terrible against the blitz last year. And guess who's the number 1 quarterback versus the blitz this year? C.J. Stroud. What is Flores going to deliver? You're going to get from Flores. You're going to get 40% plus blitz rate. I'm looking towards the Texans. This line's moving towards the Texans. It's in a range. I like the bet. I just don't know why I'm so skeptical to pull the trigger. I'm so skeptical to pull the trigger in this spot, and maybe that should keep me off.
I know why you are skeptical to pull the trigger. It's because of the coaching in Minnesota. No disrespect to the coaching in Houston, but they're pressing all the right buttons. And they're at home, and it's going to be loud. We just saw the Texans on the road have the ball for 40 minutes in week 1 and not cover a 3-point line. So you have every right to be nervous. I took the Vikings at plus money to win less than 6.5 games this year. I couldn't have been more wrong. But these short road favorites are uncomfortable to back. Birdie says, here's the thing about Houston. They won games versus bad teams last year. This year, they are playing much tougher teams and defenses. Stroud is legit, but the pass rush is too high on Houston, in my opinion.
So teams that closed at 2.5 the past 2 years, there's been 10 instances where a home team is closed at plus 2.5 and the market moved towards the road team. The road team is 6-4 ATS, 6-3 straight up. Nothing spectacular. Small sample. But when the sharp action's also on the home team spread, 5-0, and the average margin of victory is 17. I don't know, man. I should probably be on the Texans in this spot, but I'm not that confident in it. And Birdie's talking out the other side. So, and
that was power rating, not pass rush. My bad. Power rating. The power rating is too high on Houston, in his opinion. I am uncomfortable when I'm that wrong on a football team. I need to figure things out before I can place money on either backing them or jumping on the wagon or staying. Fading. I didn't fade them in last week against the 49ers. I'm very uncomfortable.
Jim. I don't know why this didn't catch my attention either. Why the hell was I not on the Vikings? Went through 6, down to the 4.5. I cannot believe it. I went back today and I was making my entries in my database and I seen that. I stood up immediately. I had to go take a break because I don't know. I just tweaked.
It was right in your wheelhouse. All of those spots, they all covered except, of course, the Panthers.
Yeah.
All right, no action for us at this point. D. Jenkins says if Jefferson is out, it will make it easier to bet the Texans.
Well, actually, Jimmy, the Panthers opened at 4.5, but they moved so quickly, so briskly to 6.5 that it gives you the illusion that it actually opened there.
That's true. That's absolutely true. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia Eagles 1-1 their first true road game of the season at the New Orleans Saints, 2-0, 1-0 at home. We're at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. What do we do with the New Orleans Saints? I'm still just beside myself watching how electric they are offensively. This total is at 49.5, opened up there. It's been 4 cents of movement to the under, just 4 cents of movement. On the spread here, we have another 2.5. We've seen this a lot so far today. This is, with the home team as the favorite, just like the Titans were. Imagine what this line was before the season started. I don't have that. Certainly it wouldn't be 2.5. This opened up right where it is. There was a little bit of juice at one point onto the Saints, but now it's come right back to where it started. Let's get into the cash flow. I'm very curious to see this cash flow for this one. We have, I've gone too far. Sorry, my bad. We have 57% of the tickets, 55% of the cash on the Saints, 55 and 57 on the Saints. And then on the total, 59% of the tickets, 64% of cash on the over. Let's roll here. We'll start with the Eagles. 134-29 over the Packers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Lost 22-21 at home to the Falcons on a short week. And that was an ugly loss. Ugly loss at home to the Falcons. A.J. Brown out of the lineup. The Eagles did not look good offensively. He's going to miss a couple more weeks with this hamstring injury. Jalen Hurts was 23 of 30 for 183 yards, touchdown, and a pick. He also ran 13 times for 85 yards. And he's going to have to do a lot of that. Devonta Smith caught 7 for 76 and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley ran 22 times for 95 yards, caught 4 for 21. But he did have that crucial drop late in the fourth quarter. A drop where I still cannot believe they threw the ball. And we'll talk about that here in a second. The Eagles couldn't get the job done in the red zone. And they paid the consequences. They finished 2 of 5 there, and they lose the football game. The pass rush was very weak. They held the Falcons to just 2 of 9 on third down, but they had 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits. There were a lot of questionable calls by the Eagles. First off, going for it on 4th and 4 at Atlanta's 9-yard line in the first quarter in a 0-0 game. Why in the world would you offer up momentum to the opposition?
You always take the points there, always.
Why? You had this great drive and you're going to hand huge momentum over to the other team. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's beyond comprehension.
Especially knowing that the Falcons put up how many points in week 1? They're struggling on offense? It was terrible. It
was just beyond comprehension.
I was so happy with it, though. I was very happy when I seen them come out for that 4th down.
Well, they called the timeout, so I thought they were just trying to draw them offside and kick it.
Then they came back. I loved it. I love it.
Momentum, to me, is so much more important than the analytics for going for it on 4th down. But that's, me. Then they passed on 3rd down with 1 minute and 46 left in the game with Atlanta with no timeouts. Now, I know that it only took 65 seconds for Atlanta to go all the way down the field, but I would never have ever done that. Never, ever have done that. They had no timeouts left. You kill another 40 seconds. Talk about the Saints. Week 1, they win 47-10 at home over the Panthers. Week 2, 44-19 at Dallas. They've looked simply spectacular through two games. 37-year-old Clint Kubiak has this offense humming. 91 points through 2 games. Touchdowns on their first 6 drives against the Cowboys. A week after setting a franchise record by starting the season with points on 9 consecutive possessions. The 5th team to score at least 44 points in each of their first 2 games. Most recent, the 2009 Super Bowl champion Saints. Wow. Derek Carr, 11 of 16 for 243 yards, 2 touchdowns in that late meaningless pick. Raheed Shaheed caught 4 for 96. Olave caught 4 for 81. Kamara ran 20 times for 115 yards and 3 touchdowns, caught 2 for 65 yards and 1 touchdown. This is the Kamara from the Drew Brees days. The offense put up 7.7 yards per play, 5 of 8 on 3rd down, 4 of 5 in the red zone. Pass rush had 3 sacks, got picks from Adebo and the Honey Badger. Defense held the Cowboys to 0-3 in the red zone. Now, Marshawn Lattimore, who's out with hip and hamstring issues, he wanted to play. He was pushing to play. He was very upset that he didn't play. He'll be in the lineup this week. Taysom Hill had the chest injury. He went to the hospital. Everything should be fine. Now, I don't know if he will play, but everything is fine from the testing. Take it away for us here, Troy. Eagles, Saints.
This is my Vikings for you. Like, your Vikings is my Saints, because I could not have been lower on this team coming into the season. And I didn't know that Kubiak was capable of absolutely shifting the dynamic in this situation. The worst offensive line preseason to top 5 in both pass blocking and run blocking. Definitely Kubiak's scheme. Comparison to Shanahan, I mean, the offenses look pretty similar. My boy Saturated called it out in the chat. Complete flip-flop, change of the entire scheme from a stagnant, very stationary offense to motion and play action. They use play action on over 50% of Derek Carr's pass attempts. I mean, between motion and play action, we're talking about almost 100% of their offensive snaps had either one of those two variables. Then you see a team like the Browns with 5% pre-snap motion in week 1. I mean, it's just a joke. How did these guys not watch film on other teams? Like, don't you want to see what some of the best in your industry are doing? I mean, it just don't make sense. How do you help a bad offensive line? You use a lot of motion. You create a lot of confusion, a lot of havoc. You play action. I mean, it's just obvious. Defensively, they did seem susceptible a little bit. Now, they kept getting 6 while they were allowing 3, and then things started to snowball. I mean, the Saints team has never really been pressed up against at all through weeks 1 and 2. And if the Saints can continue to hide behind their bad offensive line with a great scheme, they're going to be dangerous. And the Eagles, I'm a bit perplexed. They lost that game in the fourth quarter. Saquon dropped that pass. We talked about all of this, right? Their offense, I mean, if not for that last possession, though, what would the narrative been if they pulled out, they covered the closing line at 5.5? I think that the narrative would be completely different. We wouldn't be looking at this 2.5 right now. Eagles offense is kind of stale, in my opinion. Yeah, they motion. Something just doesn't seem right with it. And it's kind of frustrating because I was very bullish on this team. Now, they did play against 2 of the better offenses with good offensive lines, and apparently that's not going to change here with the Saints. I don't know, man. I don't know. The Saints, I thought they were the worst, but they're actually the best. So this is going to be a pass. I doubt I'll have any money on this spot.
Watching the Eagles secondary now for 2 weeks, do you think they're the team that can slow down the Saints offense?
I think that there's 2 weak links in the passing game. There's 2 extremely weak links in the passing game that they have to get out for me to feel bullish about the defense at all. Because there's blatant mistakes happening over and over. The eyes, both of these players' eyes, I'm talking about Nakobe Dean and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who made a great play on a 4th and 1 on a run. When they pass the ball, he has no idea what his damn assignment is. His eyes get stuck in the backfield. He just gets lost. All these DBs, actually, bro. Quinion, the rookie, forget his name, Quinion Mitchell. Same deal, man. These guys are getting caught. The game-winning touchdown pass. Go look back at that. Go look back at that play. Go look at all the defensive backs with their eyes in the backfield when they're in man coverage. This is fun. I don't know what to say.
What do you think of the over?
What's up, Jim?
What do you think of the over at 49.5? I mean, it's going to be hammered by the public. I imagine it's going to be. I mean, after what? I mean, come on, 91 points in 2 games, and the Saints secondary looks vulnerable. I'm surprised 41% tickets and 36% cash is on the under.
I mean, I don't understand though. They score 44 points on 16 pass attempts. I mean, they have 90 points through 2 weeks on 39 pass attempts with no defensive touchdowns, no special teams touchdowns. What the hell is going on? I can't buy it. I can't buy it. I don't.
Why would it stop at home? Wouldn't it stop against, a defense on the road when things are a little more difficult?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that would be the case. So you're right. I mean, I get it. I definitely would be leaning towards the over in this spot, but I just can't even. I'd be so pissed if I lose a bet on this game. Better for my men.
Dennis Garcia says, love the over. I mean, give me one thing not to like about this over other than it being too blatantly obvious.
I guess even if the Saints do fall into a negative game script, they say they get behind, Eagles get the ball first, they go out, score a touchdown, get a stop, maybe on some random bullshit, a drop pass or a fumble or a pick, whatever. And they go up 10-0, then you get Derek Carr dropping back. Yeah, I mean, even if that turns out to be the case, I mean, I guess an over does make a lot of sense. I can't talk you off. Can't do it.
The Bengals Chiefs game to me, I was like, how is this not an over? Now I know it.
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
the
but
easiest
the
they
red
got.
zone, they just stiffened up. Like it was they were playing a high level of red zone defense there, man. It was a great call. I mean, I know it was close, but it was a great play.
But I don't see why this isn't just
Yeah,
a slam dunk to the over. Brady says we had the same scenario 2 years ago. Saints scored 0 points that week. This is not what we've seen over the last 2 games. We can't compare to 2 years ago with the Saints. We
I
can't.
agree.
And I hear like I just what we're seeing with Clint Kubiak is different. It's different. There's just it's and the confidence right now. I mean, they're just brimming with confidence, and I guess the only problem with the over is the Eagles. A unique says under. I just don't see how this stays under. I don't get like I what would be the game script, the one you created there? I still think that goes over because Carr's going to start airing it out like crazy nonstop. So there's going to be picks. There's going to be
Yeah. There's going to be mistakes and turnovers, and that's what you want. What you want. I can't think of a game script. I tried to on the spot. I couldn't do it.
it's just
This would be the same total we bet over, just like we did Seahawks Dallas. I mean, it's funny. I remember all the overs I bet because I bet so few of them.
yeah.
It's
No,
like,
I feel you. And the Cowboys Seahawks over. I was just so adamant. This one, I just feel like am I falling into a trap? Like this is just the Saints have scored 91 points in 2 games. What the Eagles secondary is going to slow that down? Like this Eagles pass rush was non-existent. It wasn't. It didn't exist last year either. Don't have a vividness bias of this 70 sack Philadelphia Eagles team. That team's long gone. Dennis Garcia says if it's a trap, I'm walking into it. I'm going to have to do the same. The question is, do I double up first half over and full game over? I mean, is that a little too much? I just see points. I guess Dennis Garcia says game strip, I guess, is long drives that end up in field goals. I just don't think the defense is strong enough. I mean, Lattimore will be back for the Saints, so is the concern because I see a lot of people who think that the Eagles are sharp action. So I think I've got to move on this over. And the question is, do I hammer it first half and full game? All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Los Angeles Chargers 2-0, 1-0 on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers 2-0, 0-0 at home, Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We talk about in sports handicapping how if you can find a player, or a team that is so predictable, that what a gift it is to us. And now we have 2 of them playing each other. This was an under that I bet 5 days ago on September 12th. How is this not? Where is the game script where this game goes over? I can't see it. This is going to be a really fun defensive football game between the Chargers and the Steelers. Let's go over line history. This total is at 36. I see 35.5. This opened up at Pinnacle at 37.5. I got it at Bet365 again on September 12th at 38.5. Instead of being jealous of my friends' numbers, I was like, why don't you just start beating them? And when the Chargers and Steelers are playing, I'm going to keep hammering these unders over and over and over and over again. This is just predictable and simple and beautiful and perfect. And a gift. Let's talk about the side. We just talked about the total. Let's go over the side here for this one. Chargers, Steelers. We have the Steelers -2, really. There's a 2.5 here, but it's at +109. This opened up -2.5 and -109. So there's been a huge move at this number towards the Chargers. Sorry about that. I'm sick and got to fly to Hawaii in 10 hours. Not what I want to be doing here. I want to just be gambling alone in the dark and capping nonstop. Let's get to the cash flow here. We have 82% of tickets and 86% of cash on the Chargers, 17% of tickets and 51% of cash on the under. Saturated says Steelers win 16-13. Dennis Garcia took the Chargers money line, chosen one on the Steelers money line. Let's go. We're going to start with the Chargers. Week 1, Chargers won 22-10 at home over the Raiders. Week 2, they won 26-3 at Carolina. The Harbaugh era is off to a great start. Defense allowed 13 points through 2 games. They come in off an easy 26-3 victory at Carolina. Herbert, 14 of 20 for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also ran 6 times, for 18 yards and lost a fumble. The running game was once again monstrous. I mean, J.K. Dobbins ran 17 times for 131 yards. He became the first player in the NFL since Jamal Lewis in 2003 with 3 runs of at least 43 yards through the first 2 weeks of the season. That's what he's doing right now. Gus Edwards ran 18 times for 59 yards. As a team, the Chargers ran 44 times for 219 yards. Running game allows them to hold on to the ball, tire out the defense, and just win. They held the ball for 36 minutes and 18 seconds. Quentin Johnson, he's the alpha now, and he's playing well. 5 catches for 51 yards and 2 touchdowns. Offense was 9 of 16 on third down, 1 of 2 in the red zone. Held the Panthers to 159 total yards and 7 first downs. Held them to 1 of 12 on third down. Panthers didn't make it into the red zone. Joey Bosa was questionable, coming in with a back injury. He wants to be out there. Everything's changed for the Chargers now. He wants to be out there. He wants to play through an injury. He wants to keep winning. He had one of the Chargers 2 sacks. Elijah Molden had an interception. And the Chargers are not coming back. They're going to stay in Charlotte this week. So they're practicing at UNC Charlotte. Biff Poggi, his former assistant, associate head coach of Michigan, is now the head coach, of course, for UNC Charlotte. And so they're doing everything right. Let's talk about the Steelers, who are also doing everything right. Steelers win 18-10 at Atlanta week 1. In week 2, 13-6 at Denver. Steelers come in off another spectacular defensive performance in a 13-6 win at Denver. Broncos didn't score points until a field goal, 10:42 left in the game. Justin Fields was 13 of 20 for 117 yards, 1 touchdown. Fields preparing to start again this week. Freiermuth led receivers with 4 catches for 39 yards. Najee Harris ran 17 times for 69 yards. Steelers only put up 259 yards of offense. The defense, though, was excellent. Held the Broncos to 2 of 12 on third down, 0 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush got 2 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. Casey and Trice each had interceptions. Matakevich pulled a hamstring. He's listed as questionable this week. And Michael Pruitt, tight end, is listed as questionable this week after suffering a knee injury. This is a perfect situation for me. I don't see why I would mess it up here picking a side. Although I certainly lean towards the Steelers in the home opener. But the market moving towards the Chargers, and I've got a great number on the under. Why mess it up? Take it away, my man. Chargers, Steelers.
Yeah, hearing you break this game down makes me want the Steelers. I'm seeing evidence for the Steelers. I know this market's slightly moving towards the Chargers, but let's see where it finishes because we've seen a lot of U-shaped market movement. I'll be looking towards the Steelers in the spot. I'm really compelled. I want to fade the Chargers. I faded them in weeks 1 and 2. Maybe, I don't know, man. I just can't imagine that this Chargers team continues based on what they have on offense. I mean, maybe Quinn Johnson develops into a real vertical threat. That could be true. Herbert's a little bit beat up. He definitely got hit pretty hard in that game. Against Las Vegas, they had 5 first downs through 3 quarters. That just sticks out to me, that number right there. And against Carolina, they ran the ball for 5 yards per carry. They cruised through that game with a double-digit lead. They weren't pressed. This is going to be the first time this team is really pressed on the road. In a hostile environment. And I think the Steelers defense is fully equipped to lock this team up. A Chargers run game that's significantly overvalued. Looking back at, I could list off a bunch of stats here. I'm going to skip that because I'm looking to sell this Chargers team. Steelers offense, just cruise, no turnovers. Keep a reasonable down and distance. They're top half of the league right now in third down conversion. Justin Fields is great now. He's one of the best players in the NFL at the quarterback position because he's just executing the offense, doing what's asked of him, completing passes at a high rate, making good decisions. I just think that this offense just continues to understand their role. They continue to execute. This is a Steelers or pass for me. I do like the under with you, Jim. But it's going to be between picking what I like better between the side and the total.
Ron Crawford says never fade Pittsburgh at home as a favorite. Never fade Pittsburgh at home as a dog. I mean, there's a lot of it's tricky, in the Tomlin era to fade Pittsburgh at all. So, I'm not going to get in the way of this line move, and I'm not going to. I don't want to be sitting here trusting Justin Fields. And I know he's just trying to keep things as clean as possible. But that last thing I want, I mean, if you're down 3 points and the Chargers have the ball, you can have a lot of hope. If you're down 3 points and the Steelers have the ball on the final drive, you've lost.
I don't know if I necessarily believe that. No. I don't know, man. That Steelers defense, that pass rush.
I'm just saying that final drive. If you're down a field goal, you're
Herbert or Fields. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't need to ask that question. We know the answer to that. But do you think that Fields can move this offense in crunch time?
I feel like it's going to be. I really believe that it's a long shot that the Chargers are going to be there in crunch time. I can't see this team continuing to have success. You want to fade these 2-0 teams, especially these ones that are potentially overvalued like the Chargers are.
Brady says, whenever you can run as a quarterback, you always have a chance. This is an inspired Chargers football team. I'm very comfortable. I got the under 38.5. I'm going to bet unders in Steelers games as soon as I possibly can, and the same in Chargers games as soon as I possibly can. Let's roll on. Anything you want for this one at this point?
No, not at this point.
Let's roll on. 1 p.m. Eastern with the Denver Broncos 0-2, 0-1 on the road at Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2-0, 1-0 at home at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. 87 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. In week 1, let's go over the line history first for Broncos Buccaneers. What a performance from these Buccaneers. My God. I just felt like such a clown watching. I mean, at the end of that first half, when the offense runs on the field and the kicking team runs on the field, and you're like, Jesus, did I put money on this football team? I think that when you have really strong defensive minds, you can handle the loss of key players. And, the Colts losing DeForest Buckner, no one says, that's Shane Steichen, that brilliant defensive mind. I mean, he's known for his offensive game plans, and the Buccaneers were amazing. And we'll go over the numbers here. It was pretty amazing how they did it. This opened up -6.5, -108. This got up to -6.5 and -123. It's come back to -111. So 3 cents of movement towards the Buccaneers. And on the total here, we have a 39.5, heavily juiced to the over. This opened 39.5 -107. It's now -117. So we've had 10 cents of movement towards the over. Let's get into the cash flow for this one. Cash flow wise here. God, sorry. Let me pull this up. Find this Broncos spot. Here we go. 19% of the tickets, 33% of the cash on the Broncos. 74% of the tickets, 77% of cash on the over. We see it sneaking up here. Dennis Garcia says this line is unfortunate. I see no value any way. Dennis Garcia says Bo Nix has faced Seattle and Pittsburgh. Is this his easiest matchup? Let's roll. Start with Denver. Week 1, they lose 26-20 at Seattle. Week 2, they lose 13-6 at home to the Steelers. They ran into a brick wall on Sunday. The Steelers defense is healthy right now and just very difficult. They outgained the Steelers 295-258, but they didn't get on the scoreboard until a field goal at 10:42 left in the game. Bo Nix 20 of 35 for 246 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So Bo Nix in 20 drives, excluding end of half stuff, in 20 drives, the Broncos have 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns, 11 punts, 3 interceptions, and 2 turnovers on downs. Nix ran 4 times for 25 yards. That led the ground game. Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin look awful. They combined for 14 carries for 23 yards. Josh Reynolds led receivers with 4 catches for 93 yards. Broncos offense was 2 of 12 on third down, 0 of 3 in the red zone. Pass rush had 2 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. The defense tried to keep them in the game, held the Steelers to 4 of 13 on third down. Defensive end John Franklin Myers now in concussion protocol. And Mike McGlinchey, we saw him walk to the medical tent. He collided with Garrett Bowles at the 2-minute warning. He sustained a significant MCL sprain. So he's going to be out for a month. Baron Browning is dealing with a foot injury. We saw what happened last year when Baron Browning went out. So these are important injuries that you need to focus on throughout the week. Obviously, last week, favorites of this number got crushed. Will it happen again here? Bucks won 37-20 in week 1 at the Commanders, won 20-16 at the Lions in week 2. And that was extremely impressive. They were outgained 463 to 216, but still recorded the victory. Baker Mayfield finished 12 and 19 for 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also led the ground game with 5 carries for 34 yards and a touchdown. He did fumble twice. Fortunate not to lose either of them. Rashad White and Bucky Irving combined for 17 carries for 40 yards. And Chris Godwin led receivers with 7 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. The offense was just 2 of 10 on third down. The defense was excellent in the red zone. Held the Lions to 1 of 7. We've seen that in years past. This Bucs team being incredible in the red zone. Pass rush didn't record a sack, but 10 quarterback hits. The depleted secondary held together excellently. Christian Azine, Zion McCollum had interceptions. And then Vita Vea left the game with a knee injury, grade 2 MCL sprain, and they say he could play. So they don't have offensive tackle Luke Gadecki with a concussion, Kalijah Cansey with a calf injury, and Antoine Winfield still dealing with a foot injury. Winfield's going to definitely need another week before he can come back. But and I don't know if even though they won so easily against the Commanders in week 1 by margin, I don't know if I want them by margin here against the Broncos. I certainly don't want the Broncos. Take it away. I can't wait to hear your breakdown, Troy. Broncos, Buccaneers.
I agree 100%. This Broncos team is a one-way ticket. It's a fade or a pass. This offense is 32nd in the NFL. The defense is 29th in the NFL. They can't block up front. They can't score in the red zone. Bo is clearly not ready for the NFL. Without McGlinchey, all 5 of the offensive linemen post flunking grades per PFF. They're dead last in the NFL in the red zone. We're talking about a Broncos team that's, with the Red Rocket on the field, pretty equivalent to the Panthers, the Giants, the Commanders, clearly one of the worst teams in the NFL. The Bucs are a team I want to back moving forward, but definitely not laying 7 points. Historically, teams that finish around the 500 mark, because I don't think this Bucs team is going to ever post a record significantly above 500. They're very unprofitable. And you don't want to back a Bucs team specifically after a win like this on the road. I mean, they should have lost that game. Laying the biggest number, 7 points in the Mayfield era. They got outgained by 240 yards. But Mayfield plays as much with his heart than probably all the other NFL players combined. This guy has heart. And their defense stiffens up in the red zone just like they did in 2023. I mean, 2 admirable characteristics of a team that I like to back. They're going to be able to compete in every matchup. But cover big numbers? No way I'm getting involved in this game. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I don't want to. I just want to catch this over 7.5 wins with the Buccaneers and call it a
great.
day.
That looks phenomenal after winning that week 2 game.
Oh yeah, it's just things can go wrong, but it looks wonderful. They're just playing really good football, playing real confident football. The kid says, "Who's really backing Bo Nix though?" And Birdie says, "Looks like I'm on an island with the Broncos this week." Shout out to our guy Arthur Mead for the $5 dono. Thank you, my friend.
I guess you put a gun in my head and tell me to take a side, take a spread. Taking the Broncos too, Birdie. I mean, that's just because of the database.
Yeah. I mean, I see that. This game makes me nervous because we've seen the Bucs win by margin against a bad opponent. But after last week, does anybody want a favorite at this number? We've talked about now going back to favorites, but that's not an easy thing to do. Ron Crawford's with Birdie. Johnny Gunn says, "Did you guys see the clip of the Broncos offensive huddle? Knicks didn't know how the hell to call a play, and everyone had a face of confusion and disgust. No team camaraderie." All right. No action for us here in Broncos Buccaneers. That is the morning slate. Truth Teller, by the way, says he wouldn't take the Broncos at +10. We move on to afternoon action, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to hear this breakdown because the Carolina Panthers have made us look bad, Troy. 0-2, 0-1 on the road at the Las Vegas Raiders, 1-1, 0-0 home. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. I would have liked to have just quietly bet the Panthers, but it doesn't work like that in this business. You got to have balls and stand behind your bets. And so I did tweet it out. But it took me 4 days to have the balls to bet it. And the Raiders looked spectacular last week. I mean, this is, once again, with the Red Rocket maybe at the helm, okay time to sell the Raiders high and buy the Panthers low. I mean, it's just a horrific football team that we're dealing with. This total opened up at 38. It's now up to 41, a 3-point move towards the over. No Bryce Young out there, and Andy Dalton going to be firing the ball all over the field, hopefully making better decisions than Bryce Young, or making some decisions, as Bryce Young often does not even make a decision and just sits there. Let's take a look at the total, let's see this here. Sorry, I'm screwing this up. Where the hell did this go? Here we go. So the spread is at 5.5. 5.5. This opened up at 7. It's Troy's wheelhouse. Does he have the balls to do it again? Week 1, Panthers lose 47-10 to the Saints. Week 2, they lose 26-3 at home to the Chargers. They've been outscored 73-13 this season. Canales has seen enough of Bryce Young. We didn't look at the cash flow. Let's see what that has to say here. I'd be very curious. The cash flow, as you could imagine, 75% of the tickets and 67% of cash on the Raiders, 25-33 for the Panthers. That's a pretty nice spot to be in. 76-59 on the over. Saturated says, don't do it, Troy. Dennis Garcia says they actually believe they can win. No one in that room believed they could win with Young. So let's talk about this Panther squad. So Canales has seen enough of Young. 2 of 16 as a starter. The 111 winning percentage is the 3rd worst by a quarterback who's had 15 starts since 1950. After the Chargers, against the Chargers, he was 18-26 for 84 yards. Imagine completing 18 passes and getting 84 yards out of it. No touchdowns, 1 pick. Tommy Tremble led receivers with 3 catches for 23 yards. Chuba had 10 carries for 64 yards. Offense had 7 first downs and 159 total yards. They went 1 of 2 on 3rd down, didn't have an attempt in the red zone. You have Derek Brown done for the year. DJ Wanham on IR. So there was no pass rush to speak of. They finished with 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. The defense allowed the Chargers to run for 219 yards, 9 of 16 on 3rd down. J.C. Horn did have an interception. The Raiders lose 22-10 at the Chargers. Then they win 26-23 at the Ravens. Shocking. Incredible. Defeating the Ravens 26-23 in Baltimore. Minshew 30 of 38 for 276 yards, touchdown and a pick. 3 scoring drives he led in the 4th quarter. Absolutely spectacular. And Brock Bowers was an absolute monster. I will be right back, and I'll finish this breakdown here for the Raiders. But why don't you take it away for us here, Troy? We have Raiders at home versus the Panthers.
Yeah, for me, embarrassing as it may be, I have to rescind my statement that I won't bet the Panthers. That was under the impression that Bryce Young would be at quarterback, but with Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, easily, instantly an upgrade. At least I believe it to be an upgrade. And if you look at why they made the change, it's a hard change to make. You draft a guy 1st overall, and he's going to the bench in his 2nd year within, not even past week 5. It's because the offensive line is performing. They have they're top 10 in pass block win rate. PFF got them ranked 5th overall in pass blocking. And Bryce Young was completely just bewildered on the field. I mean, you could see it. I mean, he's very, very hesitant. He's not confident. And at that point, it's time to make the change. I agree with it completely. And yes, the Raiders were impressive. And that's to my dismay, because I was on the Raiders in week 1 against the Chargers when they were in position to get it done. But they didn't get it done. The Panthers run impressive, but the fact remains, if this market closes below the 6, I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to be on the Panthers plus the points. I'm going to be on the money line. It's non-negotiable. This is a trend that I originated. You only hear it here on Bankroll Blitz, and I'm not allowed to even post it on Twitter anymore. This is a trend that you back at will, no hesitation. Take the names off the jerseys. It doesn't matter. It's just something. It's just a plus EV bet. If you're a real gambler, you understand that when you got pot odds, you put your chips in the pot, no matter what it looks like. And that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm on the Panthers again, and I'm going to be on the money line as well if we're going to close below the 6.
So have you already moved on the spread?
I moved on the spread. I bet it at plus 6. Or no, did I bet it at plus 6? Yeah, this is the one I bet at plus 6. I bought it from 5.5 to 6 for minus 120.
It's ballsy. It's ballsy. What do you make of the pass rush? No Derek Brown, no DJ Wanham. Do you still think they can create one?
I mean, I'm not even worried about the X's and O's, Jim. That's how much faith I have in this market. I know that the Panthers have kind of been an outlier. They haven't fit the trend necessarily, specifically the Panthers, but this market is just unpassable. I will not pass it. It's a non-negotiable. You make the bet.
Well, you have people backing you here. I mean, this is hard-earned money that we're risking, and watching the Panthers Chargers game was like someone kicked me in the throat. Like I was just like, oh, like I felt sick. I was just like, oh God.
Yeah.
Now I do think it's a sell high spot on the Raiders.
It's a perfect spot, right? A team 0-2 straight up, 0-2 ATS versus the Raiders coming off a win as a 9-point dog on the road. God, it just doesn't get better than that. Then you parlay that with the line movement. It's an awesome spot. And I know that the Panthers have been a thorn in our sides, but it's not going to affect my next play. I'm going to make the same shot. I'm going to make the same pass. I'm just going to make the right read. If it doesn't work out, so be it.
Well, it's fascinating.
Thanks, Nuke. I need good luck. I need some good luck, man. The first week 1 of the NFL, teams I backed, 21 turnovers. The teams I faded, 3 turnovers. And 10 or more. I think it was 11 of those were fumbles. Lost fumbles. I need some luck, Nuke. Thank you.
Well, Jeff Slaughter says, I can't believe what I'm hearing. I get it. And I get it. And I know what the database has done for you. And we saw it last year. And we saw how when anything came through the 6 down to a 5.5, it cashed. And we saw it with the Falcons last night. So,
and I have to call it out. I have to call it out here too. What makes that trend significantly better, which does not apply to this game, is when you also have the total ticking down towards the under. Now, a lot of times in this market, you see a bigger total, but it's kind of interesting in this market. But when you see that the line movement below the 6 parlayed with the market move to the under, it's no question.
But I have this total opening up at 38.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to this one.
Okay. Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's not like it changes the trend to an unprofitable one if it ticks to the over. But like I sent you, I mean, we're talking about after the Falcons last night, 11-1 on the money line. 11-1.
Well, you are locked in. One thing about this Raiders win that I wanted to say before I needed to blow my nose, jump, was the running game did nothing for the Raiders against the Ravens. The running game, they had 1 first down all game long, 27 yards on 17 carries. And, if you can't tire out this Panthers defense to exhaustion, then the Panthers could be in this football game. RVD 420 says the under is the play. We've seen it go from 38 to 41. Troy on the Panthers here. Let's roll on. Next up, 4:05 p.m. Eastern with the Miami Dolphins 1-1 at the Seattle Seahawks 2-0, 1-0 at home at Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. 63 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for Dolphins Seahawks. We have this total also at 41. This one opened up at 42 and has dropped a point down to 41. And on the point spread, we have -5 for the Seattle Seahawks. They opened up at -6.5. We've come down 1.5 to -5. Take a look at the cash flow here. Ron Crawford saying this is a Miami spot. This is when, teams step up. You lose your star. Everybody doubts you. That first game without your star, they step up. 36% of the tickets and 29% of cash on the Seahawks. It's phenomenally interesting that 64% of the tickets have come in on the Miami Dolphins so far. Something I didn't expect. 66% of tickets, 63% of cash on the over. So week 1, Dolphins win 2017 at home over the Jags. Week 2, Dolphins lose 31-10 at home to the Bills. We don't really need to go over the statistics because everything changes now. D. Jenkins says, Finn's fan here. This team is soft, no toughness. Coach struggles to make adjustments. Hate the line is moving towards us. Dennis Garcia bet Miami +6 Sunday night. Same situation as Green Bay last week. The Dolphins coming off extra rest as well. But obviously, they're not feeling good about themselves after Tua Tagovailoa suffered yet another concussion. IR, so he'll be out at least 4 weeks. A lot of people are asking him to hang it up. We'll see. Skylar Thompson looked awful in this place, 80-14 for 80 yards. Tyler Huntley was signed to back up Thompson. So it's going to be a long 4 weeks and could be longer in Miami. Devon Achane was the entire offense. He ran 22 times for 96 yards, caught 7 for 69, touchdown. Tyreek Hill caught 3 for 24. The pass rush was abysmal. The Dolphins didn't register a sack or a quarterback hit in that football game. They just gave up. They did hold the Bills to 3-9 on third down, but the Bills took their foot off the gas when Skyler came in, knowing that the Dolphins were unlikely to score. Teron Armstead and Rob Jones both left with shoulder injuries. Jeff Wilson left with an oblique injury. What we've heard is that I don't know if they were real. They just weren't playing anymore. They're all supposed to be fine this week. Week 1 for these Seahawks, they win 26-20 over the Broncos at home. Week 2, 23-20 win in overtime at the Patriots. Dennis Garcia says, by the way, if Huntley started, I'd be betting money line. Geno Smith had a very strong game, finishing 33 of 44 for 327 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Najigba were amazing. Each had 100-yard games, combined for 22 catches for 246 yards. That's a good secondary that they were burning. Kenneth Walker hurt and the run game struggled. Zach Charbonnet finished with 14 carries for 30 yards and a touchdown. Walker dealing with the oblique injury. He's questionable to go this week. So the Seahawks red zone issues are real right now. Geno Smith never been a very good red zone quarterback. They went 1-3. They're just 1-4 on the season. But the defense finished with 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. They held the Patriots to 2 of 4 on third down. And tackle Abraham Lucas on IR until at least week 5. And now George Fant dealing with a knee injury, but he hasn't been put on IR yet. So Stone Forsythe stepped in at left tackle. You have a third string left tackle in for the Seattle Seahawks. Take it away for us here, Troy. Dolphins, Seahawks.
Sorry, I'm getting some celebration here. Text messages in the chat. Yanks up 2-0. That's a beautiful thing. Seahawks, Dolphins. We got a very similar situation to what we just talked about in terms of the market. Geno Smith on paper was impressive. And talking heads, speaking very highly of Geno in the industry, just has me even more bullish on the Dolphins. What happened in the second half? I talked about this a little bit earlier. What happened in the second half? 3-and-out, 3-and-out, 3-and-out. Only one drive that they ended up, winning the game on was the only drive that they really did anything on. What I'm saying is we've seen a lot of blown coverages, and it was not just blown coverage, like clear blown coverages, like completely, like a corner running with a post when there's a wheel behind them. Clear blown coverages. It was very uncharacteristic for the Patriots off the defense. But I wanted to fade this team for multiple years in a row, this Seahawks team. Their O-line grades out as 31st in the NFL. Geno has very polarizing performances. He can beat great teams or lose to the worst teams. It happens every single year. And the defense is potentially overrated based on what we had seen. And what happens with the Seahawks defense when you play against some weapons? I know the Dolphins without Tua could spell disaster for this team moving forward, but given that you got McDaniel, you got Thompson with a full week to prepare, not just thrusted into position. I know he was there last year and he didn't impress, but I think he's going to outperform expectations here. I don't know what the expectations are, because if the public's on the Dolphins, and I don't know if the public's even betting yet, especially a game like this, that's surprising to me. This is the Seahawks' first exposure to legitimate weapons, and the Seahawks coverage right now is first in the NFL, but they have not played. They played the Broncos and the Patriots. There's no weapons out there. And this is really the Seahawks' first exposure to a quality team. Now, you could downgrade the Dolphins from a good team to a quality team to a non-quality team. Go ahead. But I still see the pieces on this Dolphins, on this Dolphins roster with the coaching. I think, I'm not going to sell them short. I like this team. I like the number even better. And the fact remains, if this market closes below the 6, I will not hesitate. Dolphins plus the points, Dolphins money line. This is my trend. I'm rolling with it.
Yeah, I think that for me, Dennis talking about this is the same thing with the Packers. The difference for me was that the Packers were playing at home, and heading out to Seattle, and I know that Seattle at home has not been very good over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it hasn't. I had to go back and make sure. I had to cross that off the list because that's concerning. Because I was, growing up, and not just growing up when I was playing football, that the 12th man was legit. It was legit. It was a home field advantage, and you just don't see it.
WT says, what are the numbers on the trend over what time duration? You mean WT going through the 6 to 5.5?
2 years and about 30 games.
And what is the winning percentage against the spread?
Is the line moving towards the under?
Yeah.
The line's moving towards the under. You're talking about 87% ATS, and you're talking 11-1 on the money line. In this case, the line's moving towards the over in this case too? What is it?
Yeah, let's go back to.
It doesn't matter because either way, ATS were over 80%. It's just the money line play I become so much more bullish on the money line when the total's sticking to the under.
Yeah, it's gone from 42 to 41.
I think, this is it. This fits the profile. And I know that, you could even argue that the line movement in the last matchup is because the quarterback was inserted, a change of quarterback. And I don't even worry about that shit, man. That's how strong I feel about it. And I watch this blow up in my face. I'm not worried about it, though. I'll come here with a smile on my face.
What did you get on the Dolphins? What line?
Plus 4.5. I was too late. It moved too quickly. So I took the 4.5. And I'll be interested. I'll definitely keep everyone in the loop on how I play this game. But it's going to be, I can tell you now, looking at where it's at right now, it's going to be a money line play almost certainly.
Be well, Kent Davies, my friend. By the way, this Thursday and next Thursday, we have BetOnline has given us these free roll poker tournaments to get into the $400,000 main event of their fall series. And it's a pretty exciting situation here. Just a free roll at 9 p.m. Eastern, so you could do it during the live stream, our NFL live stream. The promo code is PSR Ticket, and it. We'll talk about it more, and we'll tweet it out. But we have this Thursday and next Thursday. Top 5 players entered get into a $400,000 tournament, 9 p.m. Eastern, and the promo code is PSR Ticket, and we'll be talking about that over the next few days. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board after the big balls of Troy opening up the afternoon slate with the Panthers and the Dolphins. Let's move on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern, Baltimore Ravens at Dallas Cowboys. Ravens 0-2, 0-1 on the road. Cowboys 1-1, 0-1 at home. We're A&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. There's our guy, Nutflush Allen, in the house. Let's take a look at the line history here for the Ravens spot. We have probably better looking at it on the money line than the spread. So let's move over to the money line here because it's basically a pick'em situation. We have the Ravens at minus 120. They opened up at minus 111. 9-cent move towards the Ravens. The Cowboys have gone from minus 101 to plus 107. Let's get into the total here for this one. From a total perspective, we are dealing with a 49. This opened up at 47.5, so we've gone up 1.5 points. Two teams coming off rough losses. Let's start with the Ravens. Oh, let's take a look at the cash flow. Sorry, quick look at the cash flow in the Ravens spot. We have on the money line, 59% of the tickets, 75% of the cash on the Ravens. On the spread, we have 67% of tickets, but 45% of the cash on the Ravens. And then on the total, 58 and 74 on the over line, moving towards the over. LJ from H-Town says Dallas 12-3 against the spread off a loss since 2021, number 1 in the NFL. Let's start with the Ravens, though, coming off that surprise 26-23 loss at home to the Raiders. Jackson, 21-34 for 247 yards, touchdown and a pick. Also ran 5 times for 45 yards. Zay Flowers caught 7 for 91. Mark Andrews caught 4 for 51. And Derrick Henry ran 18 times for 84 yards and touchdown. All of the huge performers in week 1 did nothing in week 2. Keep that in mind for the prop bettors. Isaiah Likely in monster week 1 did nothing week 2. Mixon monster week 1 and did nothing in week 2. Let's go over this one here. We have the Ravens, who are 3 of 11 on third down. Derrick Henry did run 18 times for 84 yards and a touchdown. The defense looked strong until the fourth quarter when they allowed 3 straight scoring drives. And that was wild to watch the team kind of break down there. The pass rush had 5 sacks and 10 quarterback hits. Marlon Humphrey had an interception. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens here before we get into the Cowboys. What are your thoughts on this football team now 0-2 heading to A&T Stadium?
The Ravens, I mean, they're just starting to miss their personnel they lost in the offseason. Patrick Queen, the 2 offensive linemen, Clowney, Geno Stone. It's a pretty extensive, elaborate list. And honestly, they look completely different at this point in the season. Last year, I remember watching Lamar Jackson and getting so much confidence because it looked like he wanted to stay in the pocket. He wanted to take on the challenge of being a QB1. But as soon as he lost these offensive linemen, you could tell that, like, he lost faith in this offensive line, and maybe unjustifiably so, because he's not a QB1. He's an RB1 now. Say what it is. He only had 5 carries the last week, so he's trying to get back into form, but it obviously isn't worked out. Their coverage grade currently sits at 26th. This was second in 2023. Now I know they had, they had a rough week 1 with the Chiefs, but I mean the Raiders and Roquan Smith. This guy played in Chicago. He's a very mean, aggressive linebacker, a guy you want on your team, a stud, an absolute stud. Severe drop off in play. And that drop off in play at the linebacker level is impacting the secondary and why they're 26th. They can't convert on third downs. They can't stop teams from converting in the red zone. It's just a recipe for disaster. And for the Cowboys, like, I think I need more information. They destroyed a beat up Browns offense, beat up Browns team. They got torched by the best offense in the NFL. Oh, man, the Saints. I just don't know what to do. There's very little chance I have money in this game. We just need more information.
Well, let's talk about Zimmer's defense because they look lost and overmatched. Lost and completely overmatched. By the way, Slaughter says sign up for the poker tournament. Get your ass kicked by him. Jeff Slaughter in the house. That was a surprising loss. Obviously we completely undervalued the Saints. Their defense allowed touchdowns on the Saints' first 6 drives. So while the defense was getting torched, the offense couldn't keep up. And it's not the passing game. Dak Prescott, 27-39 for 293 yards, touchdown, 2 picks. CeeDee Lamb caught 4 for 90. Jalen Tolbert caught 6 for 82. And even Luke Schoonmaker, who caught 6 for 43. Now, Jake Ferguson's back in the lineup this week. He wanted to be back in the lineup last week. It's the running game that's going to hold them back. I just don't think Rico Dowdle can do it. He ran 7 for 30 and caught 4 passes for 29. Cowboys were 0 for 3 in the red zone because they don't have a Tony Pollard out of the backfield. The pass rush had 1 sack. It was their only hit on Carr. Saints were 4-5 in the red zone. The Cowboys have now lost 2 straight at home after that 48-32 wild card shocker. Do we really think that they're going to lose their 3rd straight game at home here? Take it away. What are your thoughts on this Cowboys team? I know you want to see more, but what are your thoughts here?
I have to see more, but being the spread is, the Cowboys are home dogs to this 0-2 Ravens team. That alone makes me want to bet the Ravens. But I feel like I need more information on both these teams. That, we're Super Bowl contenders not too long ago. So I need more. It's week 3. Let's gain more information.
It's interesting to see. Truth Teller says, I don't see why people are passing. This is a mismatch, 2 units on Ravens money line. Because I find this a real coin flippy situation. I see a script where the Ravens win. I see a script where the Cowboys win. I imagine it's going to be a really close game. Do you agree with this market move towards the over? Opened up at 47.5 now, or the 49 juice to the under? It was a legit 49 at noon yesterday, but it's come back a little bit. Do you agree with the move to the over?
No, because these short numbers go under at such a high rate. Period. I mean, this is just 1 and 1.5 teams that close at 1 or 1.5, and the market's moving towards the over. 14-2 to the under. 14-2. These short numbers don't. Excuse me. When there's a short number in the NFL, it just, especially if the home team's a dog. The home team's a dog. I'm not betting it over. It's that easy for me.
I don't feel comfortable with it. I want to watch it, but I don't feel comfortable betting on a side in this one. Going to want to see if the market continues to move to the Ravens. I'll find that, as interesting. And Dennis Garcia says he loves the under in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to like the under too, man. I'm starting to like the under too.
Interesting. And Dennis says Baltimore second half being a disaster. McDonald being able to adjust on the fly is being missed. Joseph Gomez says, give me Lamb anytime touchdown in the over yardage. WT liking the under as well. Ziggy says Ravens money line or spread. Very, very interesting. Let's roll on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern. San Francisco 49ers, LA Rams without Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, and Deebo Samuel. That's what we have here. Let's take a look at the line history for this one. We know the 49ers have the Rams number. This total is at 43.5. It opened up at 45.5. 2-point move towards the under. Let's get into the spread in this one. From a spread perspective, we have the Rams plus 7.5 at minus 114. That's exactly where they opened. So it's come right back to the opener. We get to the cash flow. 18% of the tickets, 19% of the cash on the Rams. 41% of the tickets, 43% of cash on the under. Start with the Niners. Open up with that 32-19 win at home over the Jets, then lose 23-17 at the Vikings. So, and that loss in Minnesota, the 8th straight time the 49ers have gone to Minnesota and lost. They haven't won in Minnesota since 1992. Purdy, 28 for 36 for 319 yards, touchdown and a pick. He ran twice for 12 yards, lost a fumble. And Deebo with the calf strain, 8 catches for 110 yards and leaves the game with a calf strain. So he's going to be out for a couple weeks, joining McCaffrey on the sidelines. George Kittle caught 7 passes for 76 yards and a touchdown, the 3rd most receiving yards, 6,390 by tight end in NFL history at the 100-game mark for his career. Of course, Gronkowski and Kelsey are ahead of him. Gronkowski number 1, Kelsey number 2. Jordan Mason was a monster again, 20 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown. But the offense couldn't make plays when it mattered most. They were 2 of 10 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth. The pass rush was still strong, 4 sacks and 6 quarterback hits. Fred Warner was spectacular in this football game. He was trying to win the game all by himself. 9 tackles, 2 passes, defense, diving interception, jarred the ball, forced a fumble from Aaron Jones. He saved the under also for me. Now, the Vikings were still 7-12 on third down, but the 49ers were strong in the red zone, held the Vikings to 1 of 3 down there. Let's talk about the Rams, but to do that, we got to go to their injury report. Jonah Jackson, going to miss significant time. The guard, their big signing, doubtful. They have, of course, Cooper Kupp out. John Johnson, the 3rd safety. He hairline fracture of his scapula. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. We know that Puka Nacua is out. Steve Avila and Joe Noteboom, they're on injured reserve. So is Connor McDermott. So there's 3 parts of the offensive line not there. Ron Crawford says San Francisco minus 7.5. McVay seems to handle these very difficult situations. He seems to handle them well. Now, obviously, he didn't in that 41-10 loss at Arizona. It was a disaster. The Cardinals outgained them 489 to 245. It was 24-3 at the half. But now he gets a week to prepare. Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell will be the guys. Blake Corum, Kyron Williams have to do more. The Rams were just 2 of 11 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. The offensive line is in shambles. The defense was atrocious. But this is a new start, a new opportunity, and we have a big home dog. Take it away for us, NFC West, Niners, Rams.
I don't have a lot on this game, so I'll be pretty brief. I mean, this is a spot where both teams' offenses are beat up, but right away, when you dig into the market history in this type of this price range, it's home team ATS and under. So that's really the only way I'm looking. Home teams in division in this price range, the cash an unbelievable rate. We have to see some line movement because it starts moving towards the Rams. I'd be even more bullish on the Rams, but I want the Niners. So I'm not betting this game, Jim. I could move on from this one. I'm not very interested.
Let me ask you this, though. NFC West divisional battle, 2 teams that don't like each other, weapons not on the field, line moving towards the under. Is this not just an under?
Should be an under. I just know that over a touchdown, the under starts getting a little shaky for home dogs when they're home dogs of over a touchdown, but in division too, with the familiarity, for some reason you see these divisional games go over, and this is true in NFL and I don't know about the NBA, but definitely in the MLB, another thing where you see an over trends in division. It's because of familiarity.
Dennis Garcia says if we can trust the Rams to tackle. They were just embarrassed. Don't you think their defense steps up a little bit after being embarrassed? And then, you got a 49er team that's going to be running the ball with Mason down their throat. You have a Rams team that's not going to be able to move the ball easily. I mean, Demarcus Robinson, he's just not number one. I mean, who are the weapons that are going to beat you? And when this 49er offense is stalling, who comes to the rescue? Deebo Samuel. He's the guy who comes to the rescue. He's the outside the box plays. You're able to do so many different things with Deebo Samuel. So now he's not there. CMC's not there. Mason's going to run the ball right at the Rams over and over again. And the Rams don't have an offensive line to protect Stafford. So where are the points coming from?
Yeah, I couldn't give you a good answer. I do know the 49ers or the Rams defense, despite what the 49ers are missing on offense. I mean, that Rams defense was awful. It was awful, awful, awful. I got to rewatch that game too. I didn't watch much of Cards Rams, so I just don't have much on this game, Jim. I don't feel comfortable talking about it, to be honest.
Well, I'm going to bet this under. Is what I'm going to do. I think this game goes under. I think that the Rams being embarrassed the way they were, McVay's not going to allow it. Sometimes early in the season when you're on the road, the game gets away from you. It just got away from them. And now they're coming back home. And I know it's not a huge home advantage, for the Rams, but it's a bigger home advantage for the Rams than it is, for the Chargers. Truth teller, just bet it. I'm going to bet it. I'm going to bet it as soon as this show is over, in fact. Let's roll on. We roll on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern. This is a fascinating one. Detroit Lions at Arizona Cardinals, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Let's take a look at the line history and the cash flow here. We have, first off, the spread. The Lions are -2.5 at -115. They opened up at 3. So we've had a half-point move to the Arizona Cardinals after that spectacular showing. Let's go to the total. This total is at 52. It opened up at 52. The first move was down to 51. It's come back to 52. 6 cents of movement towards the over. Dennis Garcia is already on Arizona and the under 52, but he got the +3 on Arizona. So, do the Lions bounce back, or are the Cardinals confidence snowball effect happening? Are they getting bigger and bigger as the snowball goes down the hill? 59% of the tickets, 56% of the cash on the Cardinals. It's a big move to 2.5. 46% tickets and 80% cash on the over. I don't see how this doesn't go over, honestly. I don't see the Lions making the same horrific mistakes that they made last week. Dan Campbell doesn't seem to do that over and over again. I mean, he does it every year, but he doesn't do it the same, week after week kind of thing. Let's talk about the Lions first. 26-20 in overtime at home over the Rams, and 2016 at home to the Bucs. This is their first road game. They haven't looked good offensively. They outgained the Bucs 463-216, but couldn't win. Goff 34-55 for 307 yards, no interceptions. Of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown stepped up after that no-show in week 1. If I was a prop bettor, I surely would have cashed on that. But Jameson Williams caught 5 for 79. Browns 11 for 119. Jahmyr Gibbs ran 13 times for 84 yards, caught 7 for 22. And they were just a disaster in the red zone. I mean, 1 of 7 in the red zone. And that's just horrific. The confusion at the end of the first half is, it just can't happen. Not in the highest league in the world. Short field goal, which, the offense comes out, the special teams comes out. It was just absolutely atrocious. And then the Lions turned it over on down to the Bucs 6 with 53 seconds left. At their 26 with 2 seconds left. The defense held the Lions to just the defense for the Lions held the Bucs to just 216 yards, held them to 2 of 10 on third down. Aiden Hutchinson was a one-man wrecking crew, 4.5 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Brian Branch had an interception. Alex Anzalone was knocked out of the game with concussion, so he's in concussion protocol. That's a big piece. And, of course, Marcus Davenport was inactive. You want to have Anzalone in there, I think, if you're going to move on these lines. Talk about the Cards. The 34-28 loss at Buffalo looks even better now. The 41-10 win at home was a smash and grab. They snapped a 9-game losing streak to the Rams at State Farm. They won for the third time out of the last 16 games they played the Rams. They outgained the Rams 489-245. It was extremely impressive. Kyler Murray, 17-21 for 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Also ran 5 for 59. Marvin Harrison, 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a week after 1 catch for 4 yards. Trey McBride caught 6 for 67. These are dangerous weapons. James Conner ran 21 times for 122 yards and touchdown, 7 of 11 on third down, 3 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush was excellent. Now that was an extremely banged up offensive line. Dennis Gardeck had 3 of the Rams' 5 sacks. Rams had 9 quarterback hits. They had 3 of the Cardinals' 5 sacks. The Cardinals had 9 quarterback hits. They held the Rams to 2 of 11 on third down. It was very, very impressive. The problem is this a sell high spot on the Cardinals and a buy low spot on the Lions? Take it away, Troy. Lions, Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals, they've been impressive. I backed them in week 1. I did back them a little bit. I sprinkled on them non-official. I was not extremely confident. Didn't have a lot of database support after the line moved away from them. But I spoke about it last week. That line beat against the Cards at -1 was so telling. And unfortunately, so far this season, it's kind of been a disaster. Shook my confidence, but I bounced back. I got it back. They played 2 quality teams. They pushed with the Bills. They pushed on the Bills. They pushed them to the brink, and they absolutely hammered the Rams. This team is underrated. They grade out 3rd on offense and 23rd on defense. They had an easy matchup versus LA Rams once Cup went out. Now you got no Puka. Obviously, the offensive line issues. They want to play 12 personnel, which is refreshing to watch. I love 12 personnel. I ran a version of 12 personnel when I was playing Madden professionally. Kyler Murray, and this guy has been great, man. He's been making the best decisions. His PFF grade is 2nd in the NFL, and he knows when to use his legs. He understands when to use his legs, unlike Lamar, who's really just not a QB1. But, there's a lot going on in this matchup. The Lions, they've been underwhelming in weeks 1 and 2. A team known to play higher scores have gone 2-0 to the under to start the campaign. They improved defensively at every level of the defense, and that's probably what's changed. The secondary is adequate with a bunch of upside. Offensively, this is one of the main reasons I love this team, and I had them so high in my power rankings, was because this dominant offensive line, this rushing attack, all predicated on running the ball, play action, getting Goff into situations where he's successful, and it's been great. But the Lions are 23rd in the NFL with a run rate around 40%. That's completely out of line. I don't know what's going on. I mean, what are you trying to prove? So I think we see this offense revert back to the ground game. Ultimately, I think we see both teams try to lean on the rushing attack in this game. Cardinals want to run to avoid the pressure. That's their strong suit anyway, but they want to avoid the pressure generated by the Lions pass rush, which has been incredible through the first 2 weeks. The Lions want to run the football to reestablish their identity. And guess what? Both teams' strong suit is defending the run. Even if these offenses are somewhat efficient, I think that we have a script, in my opinion, that kind of leans me to an under. And obviously, we have a very big number. And historically, these numbers that are this high go under. Home dogs between +1 and +4 with a total greater than 48. The home dog is 12-19 ATS, only 38%. But the under is 23-9, that's 72%. I can give you a bunch of trends that support this under. A total move to the under supports the road favorite. A total move to the over supports the home dog. But no matter where the total moves, all signs point to the under. So that's the only way I'm looking at this matchup.
Have you moved on it yet?
I have not moved on it yet. I could see this line ticking up. I want to get a 54.
This is a tricky one. At this point, you have a lean on the side?
I have a lean right now where the market currently sits towards the Cardinals.
Cardinals are playing good football. It's when you've been a bad team for a long time and you get a little bit of excitement, it just radiates. And it was the same thing for the Lions last year when they finally started winning football games. And this could be the Cardinals, could be the Lions of last year. All right. That is Lions, Cardinals, no action for me at this point. Let's talk about the Sunday nighter, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. The Kansas City Chiefs, 2-0 at the Atlanta Falcons, 1-1, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's get to the line history here for this one. This total sitting at 46.5, juice to the over. Opened up I guess it's really not moved. It's moved a cent right now, a cent towards the under. So just sitting here at 46.5. Let's get over to the spread in this one. Our Sunday nighter will be live right here for this one. We have the Chiefs -3.5. That's where they opened at Pinnacle. at 11:43 this morning, -3 at -106. Now it's -3 at +100. 3.5 taking 6 cents. I'm curious to see when BetOnline put this out. See what BetOnline has done. This opened up at 4.5, now at 3.5. So we've had a 1-point move over at BetOnline. Now they put that line out on Sunday night, actually Sunday morning, and Pinnacle obviously waited till Monday, waited for that Falcons game to be over. So here we go. Let's take a look at the total here for this one. On the total, we have a 40. Sorry, I moved back to Pinnacle. Oh, I've done that. 46.5 on the over. Let's grab the cash flow for the Sunday nighter. We have 77% of the tickets and 65% of the cash on the Chiefs. Falcons are 23 and 35, 53 and 74 on the over. You know, I don't want to get too caught up in what we saw last night, but I certainly want to fade the Chiefs in their first road game of the year. I want to hear what Troy has to say and what everybody else has to say. Ron Crawford says, lock me in for the show. Kansas City -3.5. LJ from H-Town says Chiefs -3.5. And I really want to fade them. I really want to fade the Chiefs. Chiefs won 27-20 at home over the Ravens week 1, 26-25 at home over the Bengals week 2. Coming off their second straight win by the skin of their taint. I don't know how they got it. And the question you have to ask yourself, are these underwhelming victories, or are the Chiefs just showing their championship pedigree by winning all of the close games, no matter how poorly they play? Jeff Slaughter says Kansas City destroys the Falcons. Bucker drilled that 51-yarder as time expired. Mahomes was 18 of 25 for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Isaiah Pacheco ran 19 times for 90 yards, caught 5 passes for 21 yards, and now has the fibula injury. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. This would be the perfect opportunity for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he's dealing with PTSD and cyclic vomiting syndrome. And I have a friend, a close friend, who has the same thing, cyclic vomiting syndrome. And it's awful. Like, he can't do things. He wakes up every morning and vomits. It's a real serious thing. And that's what Clyde Edwards is going through. So Carson Steele is a beast. He's shown that. No, he had the fumble. Still looks good. They've signed Kareem Hunt. I can't believe he's back, but he's back. Rasheed Rice caught 5 for 75 in a touchdown. The Chiefs won despite going 1 of 8 on third down. And now they don't have Pacheco. The defense held the Bengals to 4 of 13 on third down, 2 of 4 in the red zone. The pass rush got 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and Connor returned that fumble, 37 yards for a touchdown. I mean, all the bounces seem to go the Chiefs' way. Again, week 1, the Falcons lose 18-10 at home to the Steelers, and then we just watch them win 22-21 in Philadelphia. They're on a short week. Cousins calmed a lot of the fears that the Falcons fans have. That was a game-winning drive, a special one, 5 of 6 for 70 yards, cashed the winning TD in 65 seconds. Finished 28-29 for 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Darnell Mooney caught 3 for 88. Drake London caught 6 for 54 and the game-winning touchdown. Other than that spectacular game-winning drive, the Falcons' offense didn't look good. 2 of 9 on third down, 1 of 3 in the red zone. Their only score being that all-important final one. And the jury's still out on this defense. Pass rush finished with 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. Jesse Bates sealed the game with an interception. I'm surprised that a lot of people here are thinking that the Chiefs smash again, because I really want the Falcons. Take it away for us here, Troy, our Sunday nighter, Chiefs, Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know where I'm going to go with this one. I faded the Chiefs last week. I feel like I should have cashed on the money line, but, championship teams know how to win games, I guess. This team needed a fumble for a touchdown, down 6 without the ball, a miracle 4th down penalty. At some point, it's time to pay the piper. And KC owes big time. They're in debt to the piper. Mahomes' lowest passing yards of his entire career. He had 2 interceptions. This Chiefs team is overvalued. I mean, can you guys not see what's going on here with the Chiefs? And maybe this is an argument against my point and what we talked about, the mob shit in the postseason last year. You got Travis Kelce with Pfizer. You got Kamala Harris on every commercial break coming on, who Taylor Swift endorses. Shit, they talk about Taylor Swift every game, every primetime game, whether the KC Chiefs are playing or not. I mean, this is the establishment's favorite team, a.k.a. this is mob shit. But the Chiefs is road favorites of 7 or less, line moving towards the home team. They're 1-5 ATS, 2-4 straight up. The Packers and the Broncos got them last year. They got lucky to beat the Vikings and lucky to cover that game. That was their only cover another miracle penalty, if I remember correctly. The year before that, the Bengals, the Colts, the Chargers all got their ass. I think the Falcons will continue to improve as the season goes on. Kurt, I mean, it wasn't like he was a world beater or nothing yesterday, but I think he's slowly gaining his comfort back and more comfortable with where he sits with his injury that happened last year. The offensive line returned to elite form in Philly. The Bijan-Algier combo is something I wouldn't want to get in front of. And defensively, they made plays when it mattered. I was thoroughly impressed with the zone coverage that they laid out. I think they were very disciplined in that coverage. And if the Falcons can keep the Chiefs at under 50% in the red zone, I think they win the game outright. This Chiefs team is a fade for me, as you know. Falcons plus 3.5 is on my card.
I mean, nothing that the Chiefs did against the Bengals impressed me, and now they don't have Pacheco. I mean, and Steele looks like the real deal, but Pacheco is. I mean, Steele's one of those guys who's just going to keep hammering you, smash mouth football between the hash marks, and that's hugely important. But man,
they use Pacheco so many different ways too. Pacheco definitely has the edge over Steele, and I like him. I'm not saying he's a bad running back, but he's just so much more versatile with Pacheco in the backfield.
A truth teller says there's no reason to bet it now. Should move towards the Chiefs. And Big O saying, where do you think the line goes from here until Sunday? What is your guess right now? Because we have this line moving towards the Falcons. I mean, would you be surprised if you saw the Falcons plus 3 come Sunday, or would that really surprise you?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. I do think we close at 3.5 or 4. I'm good with the 3.5. I probably won't double down on this spot. I probably won't be on the Falcons money line. I see all the value in the spread here. 3.5, 4. It's good to me.
See, I mean, if you look at these two games from the Chiefs, they were a toe away or an inch away from a possible 2-point conversion to lose.
A team that lost to the Raiders as 9-point favorites.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't that take something away from it? The Bengals lose 16-10 to the Patriots and should have beaten the Chiefs. I mean, look what happened for the Chiefs for them to win that. And the whole game changed on that fumble, returned for a touchdown. And then even late, I mean, they were done. It was over until a pass interference penalty, brought it up. No, look, I had the Chiefs money line live, so I was, thankful. Brady says, don't sleep on P. Ryan. He usually does really well in these spot starts. He killed it in Cincy when Mixon went down. That's true. The Falcons didn't look good, but they gained a little bit of confidence.
Oh, they looked relative to their week 1 performance, they looked really good, but relative to the league standard, I guess you're right.
Mud Dog Moneyline says you can't let these books trick you. They're begging for you to take the Falcons, but when the late Vegas money and hard cheese came pouring in, it indicates cheap blowout win and over. I mean, I hear you saying that, Mud Dog. You said the same thing about the Eagles last night. It's at some point, I think you just want to have the confidence to take a stand, and Troy's doing that with the Falcons, and I'm going to do that as well. I'm gonna get this plus 3.5 now tonight. At some point, you need to take a stand, and now's the time. Let's move on to Monday night. Monday night, September 23rd, we have a double dip, a double header here. Jeff Slaughter said Chiefs will clean things up this week. I can't wait to watch the Sunday night game, and we'll all be here. We have a double dip on Monday night. If I do make it back from Hawaii alive, I'm leaving right after Bankroll Blitz, and I'll be right back before NFL Pub Hub. I won't be gone long. Let's talk about the double dip. Monday, September 23rd, Jacksonville Jaguars at Buffalo Bills. Ron Crawford says, love the Jags plus 5.5 for a Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. 68 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. We have week 1, Jaguars losing 2017 at Miami. Week 2, Jaguars losing 18-13 at home to the Browns. The whole Trevor Bank Stadium promotion really blew up in their face. Trevor Lawrence does not look very good right now. So let's talk about the line history and the cash flow and then get into this one. Right now, the Bills are minus 5.5. They opened up at minus 6.5. So we've gone through that magic number of 6. Getting to the total. On the total here, we have a 45.5 minus 113 to the under. This opened up at 46.5, so we have a 1 point move towards the under. Take a look at the cash flow for this one. We have 41% of the tickets, 56% of the cash on the Jags, 60% of the tickets, 65% cash on the over. Here we go. Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. 68 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Week 1, the Jags looked okay. Week 2, their offense looked abysmal. Dating back to last year, the Jags have now lost 7 of their last 8 games. Trevor Lawrence did run twice for 45 yards. You saw him arguing on the sidelines with Doug Peterson. The Jags only had 109 yards of offense through 3 quarters. Brian Thomas Jr. looked good. 23rd overall pick out of LSU. 66-yard pass. He finished with 2 catches for 94 yards. Evan Ingram strained a hamstring during pregame warmups, was ruled out an hour before kickoff. He's listed as questionable this week. So we got to see Brenton Strange, 2023 second-round pick out of Penn State. He looked good. Caught 3 passes for 65 yards. Now, Ingram is a huge piece to the puzzle, and obviously he's a security blanket for Trevor. Last year, 114 receptions, the second most in a single season in franchise history, just behind Jimmy Smith in 1999. So Christian Kirk was nowhere to be found. When we talked about Amari Cooper, you were saying about, how bad he's looking. At least he got 17 targets. For Christian Kirk, 1 catch for minus 1 yard on 3 targets. They got to give him the ball. They got to give him confidence.
He's a zone beater. He's a zone beater. Browns hit him with the man.
Well, they hit him hard. Travis Etienne ran 13 times for 52 yards, finished 3 of 9 on third down, 1 of 4 in the red zone. Pass rush finished strong, 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Josh Hines-Allen had a sack and 4 quarterback hits. It was an easier situation than usual with the Browns missing Conklin and Wills. They held the Browns to 2 of 14 on third down. Tank Bigsby injured his shoulder. He's listed as questionable right now. Let's start with the Jaguars. Is this a nice buy low spot on the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I believe it is. Do you want me to just talk specifically to the Jags, or I cover it all? You're on mute, Jim.
Yeah, just hit the Jags right now.
Yeah, I mean, most of my handicap was around the Buffalo Bills, so I don't really have not much on the Jags. I mean, outside of the line movement and my belief that they played against a really good defense in week 2, they should have won that week 1 game if a couple things just fall their way. I don't have much that really supports the Jags necessarily, but I have a lot of shit that tells us to fade the Buffalo Bills.
Well, let's talk about those Bills, because the 34-28 win at home over the Cardinals does look better after watching the Cardinals dominate the Rams. Absolutely. The 31-10 win at Miami just goes back to Josh Allen destroying the Dolphins, 12-2 against the Dolphins. The Bills are 14-2 against Miami since McDermott's first year as head coach in 2017. So, Josh Allen what Josh Allen has done so far this year is be very clean.
MVP.
Not asking for too much. 13-19 for 139 yards and a touchdown. He didn't have to do much with Tagovailoa throwing 3 interceptions. Shakir caught 5 for 54. James Cook continues to play Pro Bowl type football. The pass rush continues to look much better than I expected. 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Jamarcus Ingram had the 2 interceptions. 1 he returned 56 yards to the house. Christian Benford also had an interception. But middle linebacker and captain Terrell Bernard left with a pectoral injury in the first quarter and did not return. He's expected to be out a month. So look at the losses that this linebacking core has taken. Look at the losses from last season, even on the defensive line. But you take Matt Milano out, you take out Terrell Bernard out. These are huge losses.
Massive. They're going to come back.
Take it away. Let me hear your plan, because I'm very interested in joining.
So something I seen somebody point out in the chat about having more time to prepare. Let's look at what happened from week 1 to week 2. We had Philly, who played in Brazil on Friday of the week before. They had a little bit of extra time to prepare, and they played the Monday Night Football, right? So they had extra time to prepare. Well, they lost as 5.5-point favorites. KC is another team. They didn't cover. They should have lost as 6-point favorites. Baltimore, they lose as 9-point favorites. I mean, this is the same shit that happened last year early in the season. Now, Green Bay was the one team that did get the ugly win, and ugly it was. But I think it's simple as this. Buffalo wants to play 12 personnel with their new look offense. They want to have a foundation that's built and predicated on running the football. And that's exactly where the Jags want you to play, in the box, in the trenches. The less DBs have to be involved, the less they have to be on the field, the better. And the Buffalo Bills' defensive strength is their secondary. So the Jags, come on, just increase your run rate. And 75% of your passing scheme should come off play action in this game. And Jacksonville is seventh in the NFL right now in yards per carry. That'll help take pressure off this bad offensive line. Run play action and punt. If you don't do nothing crazy. I feel like Jacksonville is in a really good shape to keep this one close. All the injuries are going to come back to bite this Buffalo Bills team in the ass. You got a 2-0 team versus a 0-2 team. You got the cash cow market. You got the public that's going to be all over Buffalo, tied into their money line parlays, their teasers. I think it's very close. And then the line functionality in this spot. So in Buffalo, we've never seen a line move towards the road team and close below 7. That hasn't happened in the past 2 years. These two teams actually played last year. They closed at 5.5 on a neutral site. The Jags won. And now we see a 5.5 with the Bills that are 2-0 at home versus the 0-2 Jags. That line functionality is very telling in my opinion. I'm on the Jags +6. I bought it up from 5.5 to -120 at 6. And this is another spot. I will likely be on the money line.
Yeah, I don't know if I get to the money line, but I'm going to be on the Jags. Where do you see, again, this line going? It's, obviously right now it feels like it's going towards the Bills. How much have you taken off of this defense? It's just.
I took a lot off the defense going into week 2, and then they still had a really solid performance, and then they lost more defensive personnel. I don't know exactly where to put this team, but we know that the Bills' defense is susceptible. We see what the Cardinals were able to do to them. Maybe they just own the Dolphins. Who knows? But we've seen maybe they just get owned by the Jags because the Jags did it to them last year and covered the spread. So I don't know exactly where this defense should be priced.
This came out at Bet Online Sunday morning at 11:35, and that came out as a 4. It quickly went to 6. Since then, it's come back to 5. It's a flat 5 over at Bet Online. Pinnacle, of course, waited. Look, I want the Jaguars here. I want the Jaguars here, and I'm going to move on them when the show ends. I think that people will be talking about the Bernard injury. I don't know how you can't talk about it after losing Matt Milano.
Yeah, it has to be discussed. And it didn't show a huge drop off in that game against the Dolphins. But was that game too far gone? Did they just quit in that game? The Dolphins.
Yeah. And there was no need for the Bills to do anything in that game. They just let the Dolphins lose it.
Exactly.
I like it.
No, I do agree that the Bills, looking at Josh Allen, how he's played, I'd say he's the MVP right now, based on how he's played through 2 weeks.
You give it to him over Derek Carr?
Oh, geez. Well, they're the best team in the NFL by a landslide. So
yeah, Derek Carr's MVP.
It's true.
You'd have to even Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield would be just barely above Josh Allen at this point. But I hear you. Jessica Easton in the house says, with you, Jimmy, moving on the Jags. All right, that is our Sunday nighter. Troy already on the Jags, and I will be joining him. Let's go into the second game. We have a double dip. Oh, sorry, a Monday nighter. Double dip on Monday. Next one's 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Washington Commanders 1-1, 0-1 on the road at Cincinnati Bengals 0-2, 0-1 at home. Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. 78 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for the late one. We are sitting here right now with the Bengals -8. They opened up at 7.5, a half-point move towards the Bengals. That's a big, big spread. From a total perspective, we have a 48.5 juice to the under. This opened up at 47 and it's all the way up to 48.5. So a big move towards the over. Cash flow-wise, 56% of the tickets and 46% of the cash on the Bengals at this point. We're only talking about 7,421 tickets. We'll have 500,000 by game time, at least. 41% of tickets, 48% cash on the over. let's get into the X's and O's here. Week 1, we saw the Commanders lose 37-20 at the Bucs. Week 2, 21-18 at home over the Giants. Jaden Daniels secured his first win of his NFL career. The Commanders put up 425 yards of offense, had the ball for 37 minutes and 32 seconds, but went 0 of 6 in the red zone. Got 7 field goals from Austin Siebert to get the victory. Jaden Daniels, 23-29 for 226 yards, ran 10 times for 44 yards. Zach Ertz led receivers with 4 catches for 62 yards, 12th tight end in NFL history to surpass 7,500 yards receiving. Noah Brown caught 3 for 56. Brian Robinson ran 17 times for a career-high 133 yards. Austin Eckler ran 8 times for 38 yards, caught 3 for 47. And just like in week 1, Cleveland Farrell had the lone Commander's sack. This pass rush has been a glaring weakness through 2 games this year. Week 1, Bengals lose 16-10 at home to the Patriots. Week 2, they lose 26-25 in the heartbreaker at Kansas City. Bengals come in off that tough loss. Joe Burrow, 23 of 36 for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also lost a costly fumble. Gesicki led receivers with 7 receptions for 91 yards. Zach Moss ran 12 for 34, caught a 13-yard pass. And Chase Brown only had 4 carries, but looked good. 34 yards on them. The defense looked really strong. Held the Chiefs to 1 of 8 on third down. Trey Hendrickson was a bulldog. I mean, he was great. 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, but no one else on the pass rush was a menace whatsoever. Dennis Gator and Cam Taylor-Britt had interceptions. Now, Sheldon Rankins and B.J. Hill are both dealing with hamstring injuries. They're listed as questionable. If you want the Bengals, you need to figure out what's going on with Sheldon Rankins and B.J. Hill. I don't expect them to practice till late in the week if they can practice at all. The run defense was a big issue for the Bengals in 2023. The Bengals have given up 319 rushing yards over 2 games this season. And now Rankins and Hill aren't going to be there. T. Higgins is moving in a positive direction. That doesn't mean he's going to be back. I don't want the Bengals here. I don't want the Commanders. So it's a tricky situation. Shout out to our guy Sancho in the house. Sly Astute says, Washington did punt last week. Take it away for us, my friend. Big Monday nighter, double dip. This is second one, Commanders, Bengals.
Yeah, this game in particular is so uninteresting to me on so many different levels. Not only do we have this game competing with the Jags and Bills, which I would I prefer in this circumstance, but it's the fucking Commanders in my least favorite price range between 7.5 and 9. And I just want to say this, and I know that historically the teasing the 8.5 down to 2.5 has been a profitable thing. And that's before maybe my time, especially, how involved I am now in the sports betting industry. In the past 2 years, it's an unprofitable play. Teasing a team priced between 7.5 and 8.5 down below the 3 is an unprofitable play. It hits about 64% of the time. You need 75% of the time to break even. So I'm not looking. It's a losing bet, plain and simple, at least as far as I'm concerned in my familiarity with the markets. And I just don't want the Commanders against this 0-2 Bengals team. I agree with people that would be on the Bengals coming out and smashing in this type of spot. But again, it's Bengals early in the season. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on this game. I'm not going to be involved.
We will have some live betting opportunities, but let's say Sheldon Rankins and B.J. Hill are both out. I mean, don't we know exactly what the Commanders are going to do? They're going to run the ball all game long.
I thought that with the Bengals, yeah, I guess you're right. Losing those 2 pieces is going to be a huge difference.
And we don't know if they're going to be officially out at this point, but this run game has looked bad last year. The run defense looked bad last year, and it's looked bad through 2 games this year. And if that is the case and they're both out and the Commanders are going to run the ball down their throat and do nothing in the red zone, then this move from 47 to 48.5 is probably a mistake. Ziggy Ball's liking Bengals first half. So I guess what I'm saying is I think that, obviously the Bengals are an angry group, but this might actually be a sell high spot on the Bengals. We'll see. We'll talk about this one more and we'll hammer it live. But I guess at this point, and I'm not going to bet this tonight, but at this point, if we have both Rankins and BJ Hill out, and Trey Hendrickson is an absolute beast, but nobody else seems to be doing much. I think that, the Commanders in the under would be what I would be looking at. And then we have, this kid who could be a superstar in this league, Jaden Daniels, with his first huge primetime opportunity. And I'd be interested. And I'd be interested with him also beating up the Bengals on the ground. Now, I'm not saying, any kind of money line spot, but I think they can be in this game. All right, I will move on here, but that is the lean. Certainly not going to be bet tonight, Commanders, and the under. It's gone up to 48.5. Let's review all action here. I apologize that I've been battling through this cold. I apologize to you guys, the viewers watching it. I don't like being in this situation. So thank you for your patience with me. I got the under 39.5 on September 12th in Patriots Jets. Troy's on the Patriots plus 6.5. And what I do like about this card already is I've got way less action. And I was just hitting too hard these first 2 weeks, and I'd like to take a little bit of step back. If I could drop a third of my action out. Giants, Browns, we have not moved on. Troy's on the Titans minus 2.5 and minus 118, and I want to be involved there with them. Bears, Colts, we have stayed off. Texans, Vikings, we have stayed off. I'm looking at the over in Eagles, Saints, and I expect to bet it tonight. The question is, do I want to double down first half and full game? I just don't see a situation where there's not a ton of points. Chargers, Steelers, I'm on the under. I got the 38.5. Again, I was on September 12th.
I might be joining you in that spot. It's going to be the Steelers or the under as well.
Broncos, Buccaneers, we have stayed off. Troy is on the Panthers plus 6. Whew, big balls. And we want more big balls. He's on the Dolphins plus 4.5. Ravens, Cowboys, which is such a fun matchup. We have stayed off at this point. I'm going to move on the under 43.5 and 49ers, Rams. I've cashed a lot. I have to go through all of them, but I have a vividness bias of cashing unders when these two teams play. And now you take all the weapons away. Lions, Cardinals, no action here. Troy is on the Falcons plus 3.5. I'm going to be joining him. He's on the Jaguars plus 6. I will be joining him. I'll probably move on the 5.5. I'm not sure if I'll pay for the 6. And then we have leans on that final Monday nighter. And that is our show for today. Thank you guys so much in the chat. Unique, Gamblestein, Jared TG, Dennis Garcia, the truth teller, chosen one. Thank you guys. WT coming from Costa Rica in the house. Nike B+, Dan Kelly, TJ Parks, Sancho, Sly, Astute, Mel. It's great to have you back. AOD, Ziggy Balls. Thank you all. J Dub, thank you for being here. Sly, Astute, the truth teller. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Old E. This has not been a strong couple weeks. It's not been a strong couple weeks. And the time to win is right now. And I expect to do that. Thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, on the ones and twos. Troy, my man, I love working with you. I love hearing your angles. I'm excited about this week. The turnaround starts here. Any last words for the Capper supporting the show, my friend?
I just want to remind everybody that if those numbers that I talked about today cross and they are going to close below the 6, I'll be on all 3 of those spots money line. There's 3 of them. Watch the show back. DM me on Twitter. I'm looking towards money lines on those dogs. Otherwise, Pause Sports Radio, man, this is the best spot. This is the best spot, best cappers, best chat. This is the best chat in the industry. Thrilled to be up here with you, Jim, on a weekly basis.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. All right. Week 3 of the NFL season ahead of us. We got live streams on Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. Running nice on those live streams. Please join us. And let's go out there and get that fucking cash. Big week ahead.